Hey guys, this is a surprise cast, or not necessarily a surprise if you guys listen to the end of our last podcast here. 4th of January 2020, so technically our first podcast of the year coming in, and Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you enjoyed the holidays and whatever holidays you have left for the winter, as well as obviously Christmas and everything else in between. But yeah, this is a surprise sidecast. So this is between our regular podcast. Again, our previous podcast was the awards podcast. The next one will be jumping right into our winter 2020 season. So again, look out for that too, and watch obviously our awards show. One of the most fun times we've had all year with the awards show, and yeah, we have our sidecast here because as some, I want to say everybody at this point knows, everybody has been releasing their of the decade 2010 through 2019 list for like everything you can possibly imagine. You know, dogs, presidents, nations, just news, like porn, like everything. Just whatever has numbers, just, there's a top X of the decade. And obviously, anime is no exception. Twitter has been especially cancerous these days with their top whatever of the decade, right? So we decided we'd
My
jump in.
favorite is the top. Oh shit! The top fashion trends of the decade.
Yeah, well, that definitely comes out a lot. But yeah, we decided we'd jump in head first, and we have our sidecast. First sidecast in a long time, and
You
it
mean
is our
the
yep,
first podcast of this
yeah,
decade?
first podcast of this decade as well. And we want to talk about looking back the past decade, 2010 through 2019. So without further ado, I'll just quickly explain what's going on and then move on to what we're doing. It's going to be a relatively short podcast where we're just going to do top 5 anime of or best anime of the decade and worst anime of the decade, and we're going to also name one best trend that we thought has been going on through the decade, or at least a very good chunk of it, that's related to anime, and obviously also a worst trend that's been running through the anime industry. And we're each going to obviously try to define what we mean when we say best and worst. We're not just going to be like, oh yeah, fucking best, man, just good. It's like we actually like to talk about that kind of stuff. And I do want to say, thinking about what that means was one of the more enlightening and probably more fun parts of sorting all this stuff out. But yeah, each of us will just go through each section, and then we'll move on from there. So without further ado, we'll just hop right into best 5 anime. So yeah, top 10 anime. um, best 5 or top 5 anime, and I'll start. I'll just list all 5 of the series from 5th to 1st, and then I'll pass it on to the next person, right? So for me, how I evaluated best of the decade, and you guys can chip in if you guys want. It's not. I hope to not just make it a super like monologue or anything like that. I do want to hear you guys' opinions on these things. But when I say best, I again we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but there's definitely a balance between something that says about the decade, right? So it's like even if we like a series a lot, it might not necessarily mean to me that something is worthy of the decade, right? So it has some sort of cultural relevance, or I feel like at least it has some cultural relevance for the most part when I pick it, right? It means something of this decade. It means it stands out above others in this decade, or at least it has a cultural impact in terms of community, in terms of what came after it, so on and so forth, right?
Hmm.
So there's that. But obviously, the base is that the series has to be good, right? Like if the series
What?
is bad, like regardless of how much cultural impact something like an Oreimo or I want to say what else? Like There are a lot of series
Re:Zero?
out there, right? Re:Zero or something like that had, or let me think. Madoka, right? Had. If I don't personally see it, hitting all cylinders, right? It's hard for me to give it best series. So that has to be taken into consideration. The base is that it has to be consistently good. It has to be firing on all cylinders, boom, 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 going. But above that, it has to have a sort of cultural legacy, or at least I have to justify why it stands above, in a sense. So, with that being said, I'll start off. And yeah, Monogatari, it was very popular, but it also started in 2009. So that's the big one that got away, honestly. Also, when we're considering stuff, we're trying to consider stuff that's pretty much exclusively within, like, starting from like 2010. So if it started from 2009, then it transitioned into 2010, that's no bueno. Okay.
No one told me this.
So
What do you mean?
No, I thought we were starting from 2009 to 2019. That's 10 years.
Yeah, but that's not
Two thou-
technically
two-
the
that's
decade.
not
It is.
this decade.
2010
Right?
to
No, because
2010 to
you start
2019
from
is
the
only
10s,
9 years.
and then it's 10s, 11, 12, 13,
Yeah, because
14.
because the
Who-
reason
who
why
made- who
19,
made
and
up
then
that
it
rule?
switches
Important,
over to
right?
20.
Who made up that
The
rule?
reason why because
What do you
if-
mean? That's how the decade works.
Not to me. We're counting 10 years.
Like if
9,
you're
10, 11, 12, up to 19. That's
yeah,
10.
but when you're
If we
talking
counted every
about
10
a
years-
decade,
Yeah.
you're from like the beginning of 2010 to the beginning of 2020.
Yeah. But,
Well, I didn't listen to that rule.
oh my god, toast.
This guy.
The reason why everybody did a decade list this year as opposed to all the other years that also had 10 years before it, I hope, is because this one was from 2010 to 2019.
Well, that's
parentheses
where they're
25.
wrong.
Toast, please.
I think you're the wrong one here, Toast.
Alright.
Is it wrong
Hey.
if only I am in the? Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll be okay if I'll let go with Monogatari. If Monogatari is in top 5, I'll be okay with that because maybe as Cecian said, there were like a lot of the series, like majority of the series was in 2010s. Then I can kind of see that flying. The other stuff that's like in 2009, like, is no bueno. Anyways, best 5 starting for me. Number 5, and obviously these are.
You didn't say it correctly, Spire. You got to say it in the voice.
What voice?
You got to say it in the voice.
What the fuck are you
Dude,
talking
which voice? Like,
Chills?
like-
Top 5 anime of the decade. Number 5, like that.
wait, who's that supposed to mimic? I actually, like, if we were making fun of somebody, I'm in, but you need to tell me what the reference is.
I think he just means general top 5 videos.
Okay,
But-
okay. No, it's very hard for me to do that without breaking into laughter.
We're very high budget, so we
Yes,
didn't
yes.
pre-record anything.
Yes, but top 5 starting for me, and again, all these are very, like, it's not like, oh, this is obviously number 1.
Yeah, they're
Fuck
objective.
everybody. Yeah, it was very fluid, and a lot of them is pretty arbitrary. But yeah,
What
number
kind
5,
of fluid?
gender fluid.
All right.
Anyways,
Making
number
sure.
5 is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
You
Wow.
liar! You
Wow.
liar! You complete liar!
What?
I don't
what?
believe you at all.
What do you mean?
I don't
What do
believe
mean?
you of all people.
No, I'll give you
That
that,
I
but I
watched.
didn't think you were gonna be the one to do it.
I mean, again,
I didn't think anybody was gonna put JoJo on their list.
Me neither.
Again,
yeah.
I gotta change
the
mine.
thing is, I have a strong. Again, the base, as I said, the base has to be that the series actually has to be like firing on cylinders, right? Which a little bit, the later seasons was a bit like, okay, whatever, but it's
Well,
like,
that's where you're wrong,
You
Spire.
mean latest?
yeah. But the general idea of JoJo being, again, part of my evaluation is cultural legacy, and it's very hard to ignore the cultural legacy of JoJo. Not the whole like the manga legacy is obvious, the source legacy is obvious, but even the anime and generally sort of how it flew into and stuck in the mainstream. How it stayed popular, how it stayed popular as a gateway series, how it stayed popular as just sort of like a general reference. Like, what is it? Like, half the time when people are just like, oh, that's an anime reference, that's probably a JoJo reference, right? So, there's obviously nothing that really needs to be said about JoJo's audio visuals, the general story, whatever, right? But on top of that, the cultural legacy that it brings to the table is very, very hard to ignore. It just permeates so much shit, especially in the Western anime community and anybody kind of going out from the Western anime community, right? Like whenever anybody from the Western anime community makes some sort of reference or whatever, again, half the time it's like some JoJo shit. So even if I hated JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for some reason, it's very hard to ignore this overall package. So I think at number 5, it would have to go to JoJo.
All right, Boomer. Came out in 1987, but all right.
At number 4, we come to actually a movie pick.
We could pick. You didn't tell me we could pick movies. Oh, not to
Yes,
change my
he
list.
did.
I
Alright,
did
I
it
have to
for
change my
both. I
list.
said it for both things.
He literally
gotta make
told
an
you that you
adjustment.
could pick
Fuck.
movies.
Anyway,
Fine, I'm picking 5 movies. Good.
You can't
said-
do that.
please
No,
don't.
you just
all
said-
5 of his are movies now.
You just said we could pick movies too, so I'm gonna pick
I
5
love-
fake
And
movies.
he also said don't do all 5 movies.
Toast, please read what it said.
Fine, I'll do 4 and 1.
Oh my god. All right. Let's. Okay. Anyways, number 4. It's a movie, but it might not be the movie people are guessing. It is actually a series that I have supported from the bottom of my heart for quite a long time. Nier might know what it is. It is Koe no Katachi, a
Damn.
silent voice. So this again started out as a manga original. I believe it was like a one-shot original, right? It wasn't even like
Yeah.
a full thing. It started out as like a one-shot, then it became a manga, then it became this film. There are like rumors of the anime being made, but it never really panned out, right? Probably obviously also Kyoani kind of going through these incidents, but I just think that the reason excuse me the reason why I didn't give it to something like Your Name or In This Corner of the World is they're both good, but I think In This Corner of the World speaks a little bit more to it is a step above a lot of what other movies have done for years, but it's not something that really it's not like a globally empathetic kind of thing, right? So it's a historical dramatization, and it kind of speaks to stuff where it's like Iron Lady or Margaret Thatcher, like Gandhi kind of stuff, where it's sure people can know what it is, but it's more just like a general sort of historical movie, right? Kimi no Na is good, but I believe it when Makoto Shinkai says it's not perfect or it's flawed, because there are a lot of stuff, it's just the pacing at the end of the day is a little bit hurried. So it's hard for me to give it, of the decade, anything. And there are a lot of stuff that it kind of leaves unresolved, and it kind of feels like a general, like a light pop movie. A silent film is definitely a silent voice. Excuse me. Film is definitely different. It brings together. I mean, the story itself, I don't think needs too much explanation. It's about essentially a general sort of a deaf kid and the bully, and just like how they kind of flow through. And it's very empathetic. It's very the natural reactions to the kid, and how the bully kind of evolves throughout time. Not just oh, their relations, ha ha ha, like it's a boy and a girl, but really just the introspection, and how he deals with like he deals with him bullying other like disabled fish or disabled people, right? So that's very, I think it touches on a sensitive subject in a gentle way that Kyoani managed to kind of pull off without being too slow or too like, yeah, I'm deaf, what about it kind of thing, right? I think it has a very good balance. Obviously, again, audio visuals by Kyoani movie. I don't think I need to explain too much. And I think it was just a very globally resonant film and a globally resonant story. And the story of Koe no Katachi just kind of growing in that sense, growing from a one shot to a manga to a film, just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that also kind of gave me hope. Yeah, the movie had the risk of being like, hey, like fucking deaf person meets up with a boy, and then boom, they fall in love and do all the things. That had there are so many risks that could have happened, but it managed to be on that cliff edge and survive, which is pretty hard. And the way it grew, I think it really spoke a lot about the industry and how these sorts of sensitive stories can grow and grow and grow in popularity without being like, wow, love story, or wow, this dude is punching the other dude in a dark alleyway kind of thing, right? So I think it does give me a little bit of hope, and it was a very beautifully crafted project overall and a very beautiful growth that I think deserves spot on my top 5 of the decade. So that's number 4. Number 3 is something that I might have mentioned a couple of times in the last award show. It is Beastars. So again, obviously, the story, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to repeat myself. Story, visual, blah, 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 everything on point. The important thing is that this series, this anime, in its anime form, obviously in its manga form, it also got awards, and it's like a flowing story and so on and so forth, right? It's again, at the end of the day, it's what the anime industry has been talking about all along. The anime industry has continually talked about tried and made projects for transition, acquisition and merger, splitting their departments, doing XYZ with their sister company, doing, subcontracting and blah, 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 all this garbage, right? And just trying to survive in this everlasting sort of industry that's becoming harder and harder and harder to make more beautiful animation for, because we're all in this transition to CGI stage, or we're in the stage where, just having the proper labor for all this beautiful sort of hand-drawn artwork is becoming so much harder, right? So in this stage, you know, Beastars showed us that, there's a simple way out. And in that sense is just do it, right? Just do it correctly.
Just make your show look good for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like that. It's like get good kind of thing, right? It's just the technology is available right now. It's just that a lot of studios apparently are refusing to do it. And if it was impossible, then even Beastars or Hoseki no Kuni before it wouldn't have succeeded, right? But they did. So this shows that this technology isn't going to be some sort of magical star in the sky, or like a pie in the sky kind of thing. It's something that we can reach for in the next couple of years, assuming that the studios are willing to put in the grind. So I think Beastars is just so important that it shows us. Obviously, again, Hoseki no Kuni too, but Beastars definitely refined it and showed us that it can be done with something that's not just things flying around, right? It can be done with a more sort of tame regular series, right? So that was my number 3. Number 2 on the list, and this is number 1 and 2 are, again, these are kind of vague ranks, and a lot of these is going into sort of back into my opinions and biases. Number 2 is Symphogear. So the reason why I did Symphogear is because I think it really just, how do I say it? It just like it
Which
kind of
season?
combined. I mean, I'm talking about the general sort of franchise, right? Because the general franchise lasted throughout the entire decade, right? So Symphogear, I will admit, did not start out strong. I don't think it started out strong, but it really showed how it can just be like a series can be about like really cheesy stuff and really combine all the things that like, you know, how it's like, for instance, like Dragon Ball isn't just like a Japanese anime kind of thing, like where people fly around like blah blah blah. Like, um, it's a global attraction, right? A global attraction to the grandiose, a global attraction to, wow, this guy is fucking blasting everybody. He's so much better than everybody else. He's flying around, at the speed of light, and it's that sense of scale, right? And Symphogear managed to combine that cheesiness and sense of scale and everything with um, a lot of the genres that people kind of like, and somehow managed to combine all of this together and not just end up as like a kid show. You know what I mean? It's like it had all like cheesiness and god killing and blah blah blah, and it combined kind of mecha forms and magical girl stuff at the same time, which are again insanely popular genres in Japan as well. And combine that also with um, the audio visuals to help kind of the carry the series, right? Um, obviously, Nana Misuki Nana, the main sort of singer for a lot of these song openings and stuff like that in the franchise, and one of the voice actor for one of the characters in the series, had a lot to do with almost like carrying the franchise on her back in the early times. But I think at this point, it is just a very pervasive series. It represents a lot of, again, my opinion on what anime can be like, right? So it's like people are always just like, or there are a lot of people who kind of follow the former movie critic Roger Ebert that's saying sophomore humor, right? Light humor, casual humor, cheesy humor, blah, blah, blah. It's not on the same level as something like political humor or like analytic humor or, something that's like super deep and based upon references, blah, blah, blah. And I simply do not agree with that. I think, humor is humor, right? Laughter is laughter and cheesiness is cheesiness. And if you feel that rush in your heart, you can say like, oh, this show is like bad or like it doesn't make sense or whatever. But if you have that feeling at the end of the day, I don't think anybody should begrudge you for it, right? And I think Symphogear really represents, right? We can make all the fun for like inconsistencies or like how come how come these Symphogears are like god killing machines and this old man is out there like duking it out and stuff like that, right?
Because he fucking trained a lot, dude.
Yeah, he trained a lot. He has all those muscles. But at the end of the day, we all sit down and watch Symphogear because it is cheesy, because it goes that extra mile, because it has that Misuki Nana music blasting in the background, right? So I think that Symphogear is just a very exemplary series showing that sort of how that sort of cheesiness can live in this sort of decade without being, like some sort of like Astro Boy levels of like, oh, nostalgia cheese. No, Symphogear is the real cheese, but it's not just like, oh man, this was some 90s, 80s stuff. It's like modern, just like everything just going out at once. So yeah, number 2 is Symphogear. And number 1, and this is, I will admit, very biased of me. I could have put it at number 5. Doesn't really matter. But it is Hyoka. It's from
Saw that one
Hyoan.
coming.
Yeah, I hate you.
At least,
I hate you.
oh, okay, Spire. At least I can believe this one. I don't believe the other 3.
What? How do you
don't
believe
believe
this
your
one
other 3.
more than the other 4?
Because I actually know that you like Hyoka. That's why I
I
believe
like
you on this
Symphogear.
one.
What?
I don't believe you.
Well, he said other
want Symphogear.
three. He
I
said
don't
three.
believe you.
So you have
I
Symphogear
don't
and that.
believe you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not giving you a silent voice Beastars of JoJo though.
Yeah.
Not
Sorry.
Come on,
Yeah, I
man.
apologize.
I am not
apologize.
believing you on those.
I get you, Toast. All right. Anyways, again, this is like a very subjective, but I believe Hyoka represented a lot of what I used to like about Kyoto anime. Or let me put it precisely. It's not that I hate Kyoto animations or whatever it is. It's more that Hyoka was one of the things that really solidified before it broke down. Previously, really solidified my position that Kyoani in those years, right? Hyoka could do no wrong, right? So, or Kyoani could do no wrong, excuse me. So, what I mean by that is just like it had everything, right? It had the audio visuals. I don't think we need to really talk about that. It had the general storyline, which the character interactions were all good, and they were evolving throughout throughout the mini arcs of the mysteries, which was fine, and it was pretty organic. And it also had the mini arc mysteries, which were I I think it was one of the very few series that really, really, really went all in on making it a very sort of like let the audience be able to solve the mystery with you kind of series. Again, there's a difference. I always say difference between a mystery series and a detective series. Mystery series like Hyoka allow people to be like, oh, I see these things in the series. Now I can help follow the logic to of whatever mystery Oriki said to the conclusion. Obviously, maybe not 100%, but a decent amount, like a majority portion of it. Detective series, something like Gosick, for example, where the Victor Dubois is like, oh man, I use the crystals of chaos to solve this mystery, and have the stuff in the flashbacks you don't even see in the episode. You're just like, okay, well, fuck. So I think it really set an example of not only being that sort of mystery series, but also just setting up everything right. Just the audio visuals, the story, the sort of slice of life pacing, just everything was laid together really, really, really well. And it's one of the series that, in terms of the actual story, it has, longtime viewers of the podcast know that I like to make predictions on where anime series will how things will end, like an anime series. Kyoka has been one of the series that has consistently evaded my predictions for a while, and almost just for that, I can give it a lot of props. But all in all, I think a very, very complete package, a very, very good package for what it is, and it does stand out amongst a lot of the other series that I have seen this past decade, and has been in my heart for, again, the better part of it. And for that, I give it number 1 on my best 5 of the decade. With that,
Yeah. Yeah. Good job.
thanks, Toast. And with that, we are going to move on to the next person. Nier. Would you like to go next?
Sure. I gotta say, I was really not expecting you to pick JoJo.
I know. What a liar.
You weren't expecting me. What? Why is
I
Toast
don't
calling
believe
me
you
a
at
liar?
all.
I read JoJo. What?
Yeah, I know, but like, I don't know,
I don't
man.
believe you at all.
I just like the rest of your
See
list.
the amount of doubt in this
Yeah,
room.
you're pandering.
There's so
You're
much.
fucking
pandering.
pandering,
You did,
dude.
Where's
I'm the official 4PA show in this room, or the 4PA
Yeah,
the 4PA view gatherer.
We're sponsored by Iraqi, but
Yeah.
Spy?
No,
I expect.
just me.
Okay,
I'm the one. Dude.
Let me tell you.
It was
I expected Hibike Euphonium or some sort of other music
Hibiki
thing on this.
Euphonium is the last thing I would expect on Spire's list.
He didn't
No,
have
no,
a
no,
music
that
thing
was-
on this list. I'm calling him out.
Yeah, next series or next like whatever like awards or whatever relevant stuff. I'm just gonna have like free or like Yuri on Ice or something on there just for
I
no
mean,
reason.
Yeah,
I'm
see
just,
in 10
I'm
years.
gonna just leave the podcast.
Oh my god. Anyways, Nier, would you like to go?
Yeah. So for my list, I went a bit more personal than Spire did. The way I kind of went about picking this series for my top 5 is sort of obviously, series that are good, right? But for me, it was mostly series that I felt left a very lasting impression on me. Whether it was, it looked so good that I couldn't forget it for a while, or there was the characters really resonated with me, and just something that really impacted me for uh, a long time. I didn't really think too much about popularity of series or how much they influenced other stuff. I kind of mostly just went with my personal opinion. And so my number 5, I had a bit of difficulty with this one because it was either this one or Tatami Galaxy. And I was really dead set on having a Masaki Yuasa series on this list, right?
Okay. I see you. Yeah.
Yeah, and pretty much all of the series he's done, like I love him, right? He's a fantastic director. But I went with Ping Pong the animation.
Oh yes. Okay.
Uh it's just it's one of those series that it doesn't come around very often, right? Obviously Ping Pong is a sports anime of sorts, right?
Right.
But it's really, really, really just all about the characters, right? And I don't know, just the way it told its story was I felt it was really unique in terms of sports anime and just anime in general. The characters are really memorable. Obviously, the visuals are gorgeous, right? Extremely unique. And yeah, I don't know. It just it really stuck with me for a long time. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic series.
Yeah, I think like even when it came out, everybody was pretty much like on it. Like it wasn't like all over like Twitter necessarily, but like
Yeah, it wasn't
everybody nobody was just like fucking ping pong or anything. Everybody
Yeah.
that watched it was like
It was definitely not the most popular series of that season, but
it wasn't the most memed up. It wasn't the most memed.
yeah, I think pretty much everybody that watched it as it was coming out, like it was pretty much like universally just everyone
Liked.
loved it, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
everybody loved this show.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in my top 5.
Mhm.
For number 4, obviously I was pretty dead set on giving Shaft one series. Right.
Is this how we're doing it now?
Yeah. You know,
I
Believe
didn't
it-
have that.
believe
Especially
it or
after the
not.
recent years, especially after Mikaku City Actors, I was like, nope. Outta
man,
here.
I mean,
you can't fault me for that, right? Like, you
yeah,
can't
I mean,
fault
Makaku City was bad, but like
me. After that, I was like,
they
you guys
had
can't.
Sangatsu, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I can.
so
yeah.
but yeah,
Anyway.
I like Shaft. I'm a big Shaft fan. Obviously they're not a perfect studio.
Yeah.
They release
Fun though,
some videos
studios.
every once in a while. They have these periods of just complete silence where they're just like, haha, we'll just
We got Monica though.
we'll
We
just
got
release a
Monica.
Madoka movie once every couple of years, I guess. Haha.
Though.
But I like Shaft.
Yeah.
And I really love Sasami-san at Ganbaranai. And that's why
You've hurt me with that one because that's like if my list was purely personal, that's definitely one I would have. No,
See,
I would have put
see,
Denpa
see,
Onna. I would have
see.
done Denpa Onna. I would have done Denpa Onna.
Yeah, I mean it's hard.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Shaft series this
Golden
day,
era. Yeah.
that were really really good.
Yeah.
You know, Shaft puts out a lot of good stuff. In recent years they haven't been as great, right? But they still put out good stuff. And for me, Sasami-san was a really weird experience, right? Sasami-san
Mhm.
is definitely one of those shows where you watch it and you're like, this is fucking weird. Especially, you know, that first episode, right? That
Mhm.
first episode drops, all this shit happens in it, and it doesn't explain a single thing to you, right?
Right.
It doesn't present you with
It's very.
what's
It's not only in media res, but it's just like context. Whatever. Fuck you. Kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. It's
I
just
still don't know what this series was about.
Yeah.
yeah. But like that first episode was just like all this shit's happening. These characters are doing things. You don't know who they are. And then it just ends, and it's like fuck you. Watch episode 2, right? And to me, that really stuck with me. That first episode experience was like you know, you don't really get stuff like that ever, right? Just a first episode that's just like, here you go.
Right.
But yeah, I think the whole series obviously really good visuals.
Mhm.
Obviously very unique directing style as Shaft always does. Um, really fun characters.
Mhm.
Really wacky story. Just
Mhm.
a great series, right?
Good opening
Um,
by Zach.
Yeah, finally, right?
Finally.
Yeah.
That's how he's not made Zach good, dude.
But
yeah.
yeah, that's my number 4.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Hey,
Number
hey,
3.
hey, Near.
Yeah.
Would you call Sasami-san your damn, what was it called? Your your Haruhi of this decade?
Jesus.
Uh,
What a
I
question.
probably wouldn't do that, no.
On anything.
But to be honest, I don't like Haruhi very much, so
Ah, yeah. That's understandable.
I'm biased in that respect.
Yeah.
But my number 3 is I guess probably a series that I felt didn't get very much attention in general. I think
Okay.
deserved a lot more I guess respect or just recognition for like just how amazing it was.
Mhm.
And for me, it's Shoken no Roku Rakugo Shinju.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
this
To be
show.
to be fair, okay. So this is the thing about that show. It pops up in a lot of people's top lists, but when it came out, people were just like, or like I don't know. It's like how Europeans treat like racism. It's like they kind of slip it under the rug, kind of shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like that.
Yeah.
What series was this?
Genroku
Oh,
Showa
Rakugo
there you
Shinju.
Genrokugo. Yeah.
Genroku.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju.
Yeah. I don't know. This show when it came out, it slipped under a lot of people's radars, right? And you know, like Spire said, in a lot of these like end of the decade lists, people mentioned it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't put it very high, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of just like, yeah, this show's good, right?
Yeah. This show is
But
unique. I think that's like a keyword.
yeah,
It was pretty
for me, I don't know. The show is really, really impressive. You know, Studio Dean just comes out and they're like, here's this Rakugo show, right?
Yeah.
This really like slow paced, really like human character drama. And you know, Dean doesn't really do those very often. Dean, a lot of these past few years have kind of just been like, here's this Fujoshi series, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or like
And
here's this like random like fantasy series, but it's like everybody's faces are super narrow and like
yeah,
sticks of gum.
and I don't know, the show just kind of like came out of nowhere, and it really blew me away. And I don't know, it's a really, really good show. I think nobody really talked about. And you know, season 2's like I feel like season 2 for this show is almost even better than season 1, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I thought the show was really, really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And it just deserved a lot more recognition than when it got.
At the time when it came out.
Yeah.
That's the important part. Right. Yeah.
Um,
Pretty good.
but yeah. And for me, my number 2, is Hyoka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, we're gonna have the honeymoon later, I think.
yeah. Hyoka, like Spire said, I feel like, Kiyoani is is whatever term you want to use,
Yeah.
uh, like a legendary studio, right?
Mhm.
They were the absolute cream of the crop,
Yeah, for sure.
in terms of, audio visuals, the series they picked,
Yeah,
whatever,
they pick a side. Yeah,
yeah, like whatever, quality you want to attribute to them, like they were the best.
Yeah.
And I think when Hyoka came out, that was like the prime example, right? Like
Mhm.
if you wanted to like just prove to someone that like Kiwani like is the king of
Right.
anime, like you showed them Hyoka. And
Right.
really, some people didn't like Hyoka, right? Some people thought it was, slow or boring or whatever.
Right. I
But
mean, this is a mystery series, right? So it's
yeah,
like
for me, like even outside of, what kind of series it was, like what kind of story it was telling, it was like the epitome of like visual direction, right? Like the shots in Hyoka are gorgeous.
Mhm.
The animation sequences for like the mystery stuff is incredibly unique. The the animation for um what's the girl's name when she's she
It's Tanda. It's Tanda.
she's like explodes into flowers,
Yeah, exactly.
there's sparkles all over the place, like it's gorgeous, right? And I don't know, to me, like it was really hard for me to think of like, it's tricky when you want to like say like what series is Kiwani's best, right? Because
If Nichijou, because I was very considering Nichijou or Hyoka, but I ended up with Hyoka. But it's like if Hyoka had Nichijou's sound direction and it kept like its own visual direction, arguably that would be like Kyoani's best show in history, right?
yeah,
Like, like Nichijou's like tables, like Wikipedia table within tables worth of like music kind of stuff,
yeah,
plus Fantasia sound direction, plus Hyoka's.
yeah,
But
it
yeah,
was tricky, because Nichijou, fantastic series, right?
yeah,
It's one of the best for comedy series just in general.
yeah.
And for me, Spire might not agree, but Violet Evergarden, I think, is absolutely like really phenomenal too, right?
I think I can't forgive Violet Evergarden for a little bit of the stumblings in the story at points, but for the most part, I mean, like those stumbles aside, if anybody was just like Violet Evergarden is not a, I mean, looking back at it now, I do change my opinion on it. I think if somebody was just like Violet Evergarden is not a good series, they would be like objectively wrong. They would
Yeah,
be objectively wrong. Yeah.
yeah. Um, like like these three, Nichijou, Violet Evergarden, Hyoka, like to me, these like those series, like they are Kyoani,
Yeah,
right?
they
Like
represent
that's,
the best, the absolute best of Kyoani. Yes.
yeah. And it was really tricky for me to just pick one, right? But I felt like Hyoka really, like like when it came out, like that was the best anime, right? Like that was the best show that had come out at that time. Um, and so that's why I gave it my number 2.
Okay.
Just absolutely amazing show.
Yeah, definitely,
Um,
definitely true. And your number one, sir.
um, I don't know. I fought with putting this on my number 1 for a while, right? Um, because I feel like sometimes I give this show too much. I don't know. I feel like I talk about the show a little bit too much, right? But I mean, I had to. For
Mhm.
me, it's Hoseki no Kuni, right?
Yes. Okay.
I
Yes.
like.
Yes. I'm
There's
more
not many.
curious why you pick that over, what arguably. would it be too much of an argument to say that Beastars is a refined version? But you pick Hoseki no Kuni because it kind of started it. Would I be correct in assuming that? And
I
obviously
mean,
the series itself, though.
for me, I don't know. I feel like it just resonated a little bit more with Hoseki no Kuni. I think when I watched Hoseki no Kuni for the first time, right? Like I was just on the floor. Like this show is gorgeous, right? This show is extremely unique, right? And like everything, right? From the characters to the aesthetic to the setting to the story, the music, the visuals, like to me, I feel like I resonated a lot more with Hoseki no Kuni. You know, I can obviously see the opinion that, Beastars is like kind of what they took from Hoseki no Kuni and they just used that and made like sort of obviously a more refined visually uh more refined anime and but with a much different story, right? I don't know, to me Hoseki no Kuni is probably the series that left like the biggest impression on me like in
Yes.
these past 10 years.
I would say especially in the context of that year and the years that came before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, to me it was just it's like again it always goes back to just like the visuals, right? It's the series that just turned it's almost like just slapped the anime industry in the face, right? Like it's like all these shows are coming out and they're like, yeah, we'll try this CG stuff and see if we can save some money doing this and that, and it looks like shit, right?
Right,
And
right.
everybody who watches anime, they don't really like CG very much because
Efficiency, yeah.
yeah, because it looks like shit.
Yeah.
And then here comes Hoseki no Kuni, and it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And it's the best looking show that year. I think it's probably the best looking show for years before it. Um, and it's good to boot. It's got great characters. It's got a really unique story. It's got a really cool setting, and it's just good, right? I don't know. To me, this show is, I don't know. It's just one of those. It's definitely the show that like really stuck with me the most, and that's why it's my number one.
Yeah. Definitely a very worthy number one, for sure. And thank you, Nir, for your top five.
Yeah, Nier, your list is 100% believable.
Fuck you, man. Fuck. Now I'm just gonna be no for the next like at least year as like the pander. But anyways, uh, next is Dark.
Wow. Okay. I did mine a little bit different. Uh, somewhat, I guess. Actually struggled a lot with it at the end just because I thought at first we were gonna do like the top 10 technically, but only 5 get explanations, like the top of the top. So I was like, oh, this shit's easy. Like 10, easy. 5, a lot harder. Um,
Put them as honorable mentions.
these aren't in particular order.
What?
Primarily just because
Well, okay then.
there's a
I'm
bit
starting.
of a
I'm starting at
theme
number
to
one
it.
for you. You gonna do that to me? All right.
No. You can work your way up from 5, but they're just not in they're not in order based on
Yeah, it's not some
how I even
obvious.
feel about
Yeah.
them. They're just like kind of listed off. So for my number 5, I have Kyoka.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, Spire's out here saying, "Oh, we only have like one crossover." But yeah,
No,
so
like maybe like one series is what I was saying.
yeah, okay,
wrong.
buddy. We'll see about that.
I'm backpedaling already.
But yeah, so I really liked Hyoka, for pretty much all the reasons already stated.
Yeah.
But I kind of struggled with this one because it was pretty much almost a coin toss. It was almost to a coin toss between this and Kokoro Connect.
Yes, yes. I knew you definitely have a struggle with like always trying for Coke.
But there were, there were some shaky parts in Kokoro Connect, and also just I feel like Hyoka's style and just its use of different styles, like for these sort of what do you want to call them, like the mysteries and going through like the thought process, like the detective
Yeah, the
work.
diagrams and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like just that, and just the audio visuals in general were just a step up entirely. So I did have to give it to Hyoka for that. Um,
Pretty good.
yeah, I
More
mean
like hyuck, hyuck, because it's been on 3 lists now.
it just had a
Okay.
it just had a really nice uh, sort of like package to it, like ribbon on it, I guess.
Right.
The ending, I feel like it ended fine, because it can't exactly have like the strongest ending ever. Uh, During it, I was kind of expecting something more, but looking back on it, it was a nice wrap up to the whole show, essentially.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that'll be
Pretty
my
good.
number 5.
Pretty good.
So I'll get both of these out of the way. My number 4, I'll put as Hoseki no Kuni.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when this first came out, I wasn't sure what to make of it, and then Near checked it out and told me like, "Oh, you have to watch it." And it was just such a interesting like story, just how it didn't give you, you know, really much um monologuing, or like trying to think of what the term would be. Like the world isn't really just given to you on,
Exposition.
apply. Yeah, you don't get. They just don't have exposition like up the ass to tell you, what's going on or what happened with the world. Um, but the bits and pieces you get throughout the show were great. I thought the pacing was really good. Um, and the audio visuals were just still, I think, I haven't watched enough of Beastars yet, but I feel like this show for me still stands out just from the what they try to do with a lot of like the more action scenes, and like super exaggerated movement, and also different things like the liquid effects on Mercury's abilities, and like the gold effects and everything like that, the liquid gold. So I thought that was really interesting how they did that, and also the color palettes. There was a set of episodes in particular, like the winter part of the show. Probably remember what I'm talking about too, Near.
Yeah.
But when they start hanging up like all these sheets and everything, everything is essentially white, but they pick a lot of just really complementary like shades of blue, and just the way lighting is in interiors with like sheets hanging over the windows and everything. Just looked incredible. So that's definitely gonna stay, I guess, in like some of my top of all time, just because of what it showed off on how to properly do 3D CG, and how it doesn't need to be a shortcut. And
Right. Right. It's not just about efficiency.
yeah,
Whatever.
and in fact, like, optimally, CG is just as essentially inefficient as conventional animation, as you wanna, if you'd wanna like put it in that term, I guess. Because there's a lot of things you can do that take a lot of time, and a lot of sort of more conventional aspects of animation, like squash and stretch, etc., that you can still replicate just as well in CG. It just takes that much more time and that much more effort to do. and a lot more creativity in that sense. And for number 3, I decided. Now I don't know if this is cheating, but I had Fate Zero / Unlimited Blade Work
Slash. So
/
essentially, it's
UBW.
like Fate stuff, like the mainline Fate stuff that came out
Yeah,
in this
in this
decade.
decade.
Yeah, that's okay.
Wait, so pick one.
Do the thing. Do Zero's cover.
Yeah,
Okay.
zero
Uh,
is probably a safe decision.
I mean Zero too. Like
Zero
I'm
two.
always at
Wow,
an
you like
impasse
Darling in the
as if
Franks?
I'm always at an impasse as to which one I liked more. Because
I'm not.
Zero was awesome, but the fight between Shiro and Gilgamesh and Archer is fucking awesome. But yeah, I really liked Fate Zero and Unlimited Blade Works. It took me a while to get through them at first, just because I wound up like dropping them for a while. But it just both of them really had a solid package of story, audio visuals, looked great. It had really endearing characters, and characters that were just you really liked hating. Um, so overall, I just really enjoyed the series. I think they get a skewed perspective in some ways, at least for Zero. Because going into it, the meme of doom and gloom. Fate is all doom and gloom, by the way. Uh,
Only a sad ending. Like what's the
only
point?
sad things happen. It's all edgy and dark. But I think overall there was a lot of really cool stuff and sort of contrast, I guess, between Zero and UBW in that way. With how obviously like Zero definitely had much more darker aspects to it than UBW and more consistently dark. Uh, but it was really enjoyable with where both of them went and how both of them wrapped up.
Right.
And I don't really know if there's another like action series that I can think of that I've been that like satisfied with
Mm-hmm.
overall. So yeah, seems like there's too many protagonists to follow. Not really. In Fate, that was another thing
It's
too.
not
It
really.
managed to
That's called a fate.
Zero.
That's called Fate Apocrypha. Excuse
Yeah,
you.
Zero and UBW managed to have a very large cast of characters, um, while still maintaining like the ability to keep up with them and really understand each of them
Yeah.
and what's going on. I would say, like Tosh just said, Apocrypha is where it gets messy because there's like 14 masters, 14 servants, and it's kind of a fucking mess. But
Yeah.
it's not the only reason
A
why
lot of
for that shit.
I think it's a major thing with or not major thing, but it's like if you had to pick on something about Fate, it's more just that they sometimes it does tend to fall into the show not or tell not show or tell instead of show part of the narrative spectrum. But other than that, it's like I think the way it does explain the world is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it does. It does, especially when they're explaining the growl and everything. They don't.
Yeah,
They don't show a whole lot.
yeah, they're telling a lot, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they do. They do straight up just tell you what's
yeah,
going on.
yeah,
So yeah, that is a bit of a shortcoming, but I think overall
yeah. There's
was
no real like
very
confusion or anything. Yeah, it's all pretty
very
coherent.
satisfied with the
Yeah.
series, especially it more so than I think any other action series I can think of
Okay.
in the past decade.
Pretty.
Um, and so that was, by the way, that was kind of what I meant with theming. So like Hyoka was what I think was the best sort of like drama mystery slice of life sort of thing. More of a, I guess not really drama slice of life, but more of a not comedy, like pure comedy focused
Hmm.
or anything like that. Hoiseki no Kuni was just its own specific thing, and then Fate felt like this for action. And moving on to my number two, I felt this was the best comedy I've seen in the decade. Though there were close contenders. But Nichijou was
Yes.
definitely my favorite comedy overall.
Yes.
It had a good mix of just jokes that were really long running, and just whether it be repetition, and I think what you said before really kind of says a lot about the show too in some ways, about how it's not like a lesser form of humor to have these like very slapstick,
Yeah, surreal, whatever.
yeah, surreal and absurd like situations.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and they're still just as funny
Hmm.
as something that you might have to think about, if not
Right.
more so, because you don't need to really
Right.
think too hard about it. And I thought just overall, the combination of just that comedy with the audio visuals of the show were just a really, really good package.
Yeah, just it's again like the visual stuff was pretty good too, honestly. But just the audio, like the sound directing, it's like Fantasia shit going on in the background. It's like just the openings and endings and everything was just so like they put so much money into it.
Yeah,
They made so many different versions and everything. Yeah.
it was an incredible ride, just in pretty much every single aspect of the show.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think there's not really a whole lot that needs
Yeah, it should.
explaining about Nichijou. Go watch it.
Yeah, it has everything.
Yeah, it's
Also, it's very
very good.
unfortunate because didn't it actually go in the red, or like it just didn't make enough profits, right? It didn't make very much profits in general.
Yeah.
Like it was
I
very
wouldn't be that
unfortunate.
surprised. It's not exactly something that was
Like made
that
on the
I've
cheap,
seen.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, not only was it not made on the cheap end, but it's also like it's not like it sold merchandise, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
is
yeah,
there
exactly.
like there's
I
not?
mean,
I can't think of.
Kiyoani doesn't do merchandise.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
so
much, yeah.
it's like there's really
Yeah.
not a
At
whole
best you
lot.
sell like Hakase or something bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very unfortunate.
It's so good that it was aired twice.
Anyways, number one, please.
And so for my final, uh, this was a show that Spy recommended to me a while back. And it was when I
Oh.
was watching, I was just kind of going through just random slice of life series,
Mm-hmm.
just that I hadn't seen.
Right.
And this I hadn't seen. And Spire was kind of like, how the hell did you not see it and go watch it? And it turned into a show I usually watch almost yearly now,
Okay.
uh, around the springtime, just because I like it a lot. And that is Barakama.
Yes. I was having a sense of like something missing because okay, so when I was going through and picking my stuff, right? When I saw Barakamon, I was just like, if I pick this, I feel like I mean like not that I ended up picking it, I definitely had it as a contender. I was like, if I have this, Dark will definitely have Overlord. Like I felt that coming down the pipe, but I kind of forgot it during our actual podcast. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so I think this to this day is still one of the, if not the best slice of life uh, comedy I've ever seen, let alone slice of life show. I think this is probably my favorite slice of life in general. Um, and it was just it was awesome. I really wasn't going into it with like any expectations when I first watched it, and I wasn't sure what to think. Um, but it just had a lot of like just a lot of characters that were really endearing, and just a lot of changes in Honda, the main character, over the course of the series that were very like justified and not very like done at a very breakneck pace either. And just kind of a natural feeling to the flow of the story.
Mhm.
Um, and I think as far as like pacing goes, I don't think it ever really felt either too slow
I
or
mean, the thing
like
is, it's
something
like a lot.
interesting was
I think sometimes like a problem I have when people are like watching series, right? It's like they just want something to be faster or slower or whatever, and it's not like it's like series don't necessarily work, right? It's like they have some sort of general set pace, and then they kind of deviate from there, right? It's not like a slice of life, and then you're just like, why the fuck aren't they, like just rushing through the stuff at the speed of light? It's not like that, right? So I think the pace that Barakamon set for the most part is just like it's just the pace it's set. Like
yeah, and I liked that it was much more uh not aimless, but there wasn't like a checkbox for every single episode that
mhm,
had to be checked off. It wasn't like, oh, he's doing calligraphy, so every single episode we have to have like X, Y, and Z. He has to finish something.
right, right.
It was a lot of like, every episode did have some sort of either continuing message or some interaction that changed him a little bit going on. And then that eventually fed into his work at the end. But I thought overall it's still like one of my favorite balances between comedy, slice of life, and slight drama and just like a really endearing, wholesome
Set
message
of
to it.
cast, yeah,
Yeah,
and also
and
casting.
just the ability to have a cast of that size
Hmm.
while kind of balancing all of them.
Right. Yeah, definitely a very, very solid series. I also expected it to be somewhere up there, but it's like as the list went on, I was just like, hmm, okay, something's going on. And then it was number one. But yeah. Anyways, thank you, Dark, for your top five.
Yeah, congratulations. That's the Evangelion one, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Uh, and last but not least, for our
Oh
top
boy.
five,
Here we go.
Toast.
Here we go. You guys ready? You guys are. Oh, I gotta change the picture. So, okay. So originally I thought we were gonna do a top five with the 5 honorable mentions. So I was like, all right,
Why the
that's easy.
fuck would we do that? That's literally just top 10.
Yeah.
Well, because Spire said I said top. We were saying top 10, and then Spire was like, "Well, that's a lot." I was like, "Well, what about top 5?" And then like you just don't really explain the bottom 5, and those are essentially honorable mentions. And then he was like, "Top 5, bottom 5" at one point.
The top
And
five
so that's what
worst five.
I thought we were
Yeah.
doing.
I don't know how.
Top
I don't know.
5 best with explanation, and then like the bottom 5 of the top 10. That just doesn't get explanation.
No, I think I changed. No, because I was trying to avoid that. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
I.
whatever, dude. You said top 5, bottom 5 at one point, and that's what I thought you meant.
I tried to put it as edited as worst five, but there might
I
have
knew
been
what
some.
Spire meant. I knew what Spire meant. I'm not dumb.
Can we? All right, Toast. Can
So
you go
yeah.
with top five
So
first?
I watch a lot of anime. You know. So when I was going through starting from now when I reworked it and started from the beginning of 2010 and whatnot, I had over 300 anime on my favorites list, and it was pretty great.
Pretty good.
Pretty great. I was like, 300. I watched a lot of anime. I'm gonna cut all this out. But then it's like now we gotta switch it to 5, so that's even harder. It's pretty good. Not really. So what I did was I had to condense basically 5 to 20 anime in 5 separate compartments. So I'm going off my list of categories in order. This is my order. So, number 5, you're gonna love this one. My number 5 favorite anime or best anime of the decade is da 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 da. You guessed it.
What is it?
Is it in that? There we go. Yeah, yeah, woo!
Oh my
yeah!
god. Oh my god.
I'm literally
Oh,
giving it to Data Life.
my worst
I'm not
nightmares have come true.
surprised.
My worst nightmares are coming true right now.
I'm surprised it's this low.
Oh, you want? Okay, well, fine. Let me change it. Hold on.
No,
you were in
can't
no
change it.
particular order.
Just go, just go, just go.
All right.
You're gonna have to cover 5 anyway, guys.
So what can I say about Data Life? It's probably it's probably the best romantic comedy. Romantic comedy?
No.
Is it romantic series this decade? It's the
I wanted to object, but I had a coughing fit just as I started to object.
It's the greatest thing ever. You all should watch it.
Thank you,
Don't-
Toast.
Don't do
Thank you,
that.
Toast. So-
Toka is probably
Wait, by the way,
What?
when you're saying like best of the decade, you're just listing like your personal favorites, right?
no.
Just getting it out there. Wait, what?
No.
Okay, well, what other factors are
What?
Yeah, Toast's list is objective.
there?
Data Life, the objective best series.
It's so good. It has it's so good, Spire. It had 3 series, 2 movies.
Yes, that's the quality
2
of it.
movies and what? 3 games now? And
Doesn't it? You realize Data Life has side novels than it has mainline novels. You realize this, right? Like it has more side stuff than it
that's
has.
why it's why it's so great. Spire.
Is that,
you can,
is
you
that
can,
the quality?
you can never
Okay.
get enough of all these dates. They're great.
They thought the main story was so great they decided to just do all these side novels instead.
Yeah. Like
Good stuff.
you know the word waifu that everyone throws around. They're like, oh, 02's my waifu, and near who's the green gem in Hoseki no Kuni?
Foes?
Emerald,
Which
yeah,
one?
her. Probably
Oh,
the one that's like on the cover. What's her name? Or no, who's the black gem with the long hair?
sports.
Yeah. Everyone was saying, Seven's saying Boar's my waifu and all that. They're lying. Okay.
God.
Yeah, well, they're genderless, so.
Yeah. A waifu is something you pick every century. It's the one, the one,
Every century.
the one true waifu, right? The one that you really believe is your favorite. Well,
Yes?
thank
Question mark? Yeah, I guess.
You're reborn in reincarnation
it's
with it.
you know that movie Jet Li's The One.
It's all about
Alright.
waifus, you know.
Or, no. Yeah. I guess the one because
Yeah,
no one knows.
that Jet Li is super mad that his alternate dimension selves are going to take his waifu. So he
Fuck
goes
is
and he
what?
fucking kills all of them.
I was gonna say Highlander, but like, who watches Highlander nowadays?
God.
Who watches the one nowadays?
It's a great Jet Li movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, the Highlander didn't fucking
Yeah.
crush a dude between 2 motorcycles,
Yeah.
so what do you know?
I think it was the acting debut of Jason Statham. Was it? I believe
Alright,
it
can we,
was.
can we
What
move
the
on
fuck?
to
It
our,
was close to
anime,
it,
bro.
but I don't
Yeah.
know if it was.
can we move
So
on?
yeah,
to-
so what I'm saying is probably Toka is my one true waifu.
Okay.
That's it. So that's why this show is the greatest thing ever. Even though season 2 is kind of looks bad, season 1 is the
Wait, you
best
say
one.
you said greatest thing ever, but you only put it as number 5. But anyways,
Yeah,
what's your number 4
season
then?
2 season 2 looked bad, season 3 looked even worse, but it's my favorite.
Okay.
Honorary mention goes to. Hold on,
Why
let me
you-
pull up my list.
There's no honorary mentions. Toast.
Honorary
I
mention.
literally said a billion times.
Honorary
there's
mention
no-
goes to Violet Evergarden and
What the fuck?
Chunibyo.
You're not even done with your list, bro.
All right.
Yeah, at least finish first. I thought you were
The-
going to pull out another waifu show. You're just like, nah, never mind.
Oh no. My honorary mentions are in categories as well. So yeah, Chunibyo, Violet Evergarden, and Rakudai Kishi. There you go. All right. Number
Okay.
4. Number
There should
4.
only be one set of 5 honorable mentions at best for a top list. Toast.
But I'm not explaining them, so it's real quick.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense.
All right,
That you have
number
honorable
4.
mentions for every slot.
Number 4 goes
Oh
to
my
Danchikoko Sei no Nichijo for the
Okay, this
exact
one I can get behind.
for the exact opposite reason why I dislike Nichijo.
Yeah, because that one had girls and this one has boys.
Yeah. Who likes girls nowadays? It's 2020.
Yeah.
Good
Cooties.
point.
But where was I going? Oh yeah. With Nichijo, I mean, I get why it's funny. It's mostly slapstick and like shock humor. And it looks good and whatnot, but that humor isn't really for me.
Okay, I can get that.
Danchi Kokosei is more actually down to earth and relatable humor. Because it's mostly about boy stuff, and I'm boys. You guys are boys too, right?
Okay. So they say, yes.
Yeah,
so it's more
I mean,
relatable, I guess.
a lot of the stuff that they did in that series was very relatable and stuff that happened to me in real life.
Okay.
You know that meme, that JoJo meme where they're doing the torture dance and kicking that one guy, that one
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about it?
kicking that one guy, that one civilian. That's basically something that would happen in Danchikoko say.
Okay.
What
I
other
see.
memes were there? Me and the boys. Yeah, that's a good meme
Okay.
too.
Okay. Anyways.
The library girl, or not library girl, the literary girl arc is probably one of the funniest arc. Like
The Literary Girl arc is pretty good, yeah.
probably one of the best comedy arcs that I've ever seen in my life.
Pretty good.
It's very good comedy, down to earth, realistic. Even though it's slightly out there, it's all. What am I gonna compare it to? The Office, maybe? Always
No,
Sunny in
no.
Philadelphia? Yeah.
The,
There we
the
go.
casting and everything is pretty similar to, again, it's essentially Gintama stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Was it the second coming of Gintama?
although Gintama didn't actually end it yet at that point. But yeah.
Gintama ended when it started becoming about the Shintengumi and magic swords, and it was like, what? What is this? I want my weird comedy back.
Very
That's
unfortunate.
when I started to not like Gintama anymore. Get out of here.
Oh well.
Yeah. And honorary
Anyways.
mentions of this.
No, you do not have honorary
mentions of this
You can't do
category
honorary mentions
Shut the
for
hell up.
every fucking
goes to
no.
what is it?
They are not categories, Toast. They are different rankings.
Goes to
Can't have.
actually, it
Go to
goes
number
to
three,
actually a
please.
3-minute short. Dana ga nani wa iteru wa wakaranaiken, or I don't
I can't
understand
understand. Yeah.
what my husband is saying. That's also really good. Shout that out.
Right.
And Angel Beats. All right.
All right. Stop doing honorable mentions for 3, 2, and 1. I'm serious right now.
Number 3 goes
For
to.
fuck's sake, man.
Let me find the picture. There it is. Okay. My number 3 goes to Knights and Magic. Yeah. Because I needed an isekai on this list. And it definitely
Because
went
you
to
need
Knights
an
and
easy
Magic.
Wait, again, this is top 5 of the
Absolutely
decade
Yeah.
we're talking
needed.
about, right?
Yeah.
Isekai.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
what's
Fire,
number
Fire,
2?
what was the last decade without isekais?
What's all right? What specifically about Nice and Magic did you like that inspired you to put it on the top 5 list for the
When I
decade?
was looking through my top 5 list, I was like, wait a minute, I need a mecha series. And also, wait a minute, I need an isekai series. So why not mix them both together? Because Unicorn Gundam and Thunderbolt are really good. But also, I need to add an isekai, so why not go with, I believe was my best anime of 2018? Was it? Yeah.
So
Yeah. Knights Magic's really cool.
Yeah, Knights of Magic. I would definitely if I did have to pick an isekai and or recommend it to somebody for the year, for the decade rather, because we're talking decade. Knights of Magic would definitely be up there for sure.
Okay, so listen, I also had here up here Slime
No,
Tensei.
stop!
but-
Fucking stop! It's not honorable mentions for
But
each.
what I had problem with Slime Tensei
Go on
was
to 2. I fucking stop. I'm serious right now. Stop with the
I'm
shit.
trying
Just
to
go number
explain
2.
Knights and Magic, but I also have to go into Slime Tensei for this. Do you want me to do this or not?
Oh my god. Don't. Okay, compare fucking Slime Tensei
I was
to.
just about to compare them before you.
Don't
cut
give
me off.
honorable mentions, okay?
I didn't even say honorable mention for this one.
Okay. Going.
Are you good?
Yes. Going.
Because what I didn't like about Slime Tensei was, even though I really like the I guess I'm gonna say light novel. Sure, I really like the light novel. There's something about it that seems off. Right at the end of, I guess, where the anime cuts off, is where things start to spiral a little bit out of control.
What do you mean by that
I
in
guess
terms of
that's
Slime Tensei?
I guess that's a spoiler for
Yes.
season 2.
I mean,
yeah,
I haven't
we'll,
read it,
we'll,
though,
we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
Whatever, because season 2's coming out. But what I like about Knights and Magic is it's pretty consistent throughout its entire show. It's just about this guy. He likes building Gundam models. He gets hit by a truck and gets isekai, and he's all like, "Yes, now I can finally build the mecha of my dreams."
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, the at least the anime parts. I think in the light novel original, it's getting a little bit like weird in terms of like what it's setting up. But other than that, yeah, the anime adaptation is um, pretty solid. But
yeah, it's just about a guy who loves building robots, and every there is a gradual progression of technology in this show. That he starts off with, "Wow, this is mecha. It sucks. Why don't you do this and this?" And they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And then they do this, and they're like, "It's not good enough. Let's keep on doing this and this." And they're like, "Oh, all right, cool." So,
Yeah.
whenever you have a mecha series, you always have to start off, or I guess any series in general, you have to start off with the basics before and you move on with gradual upgrades. The show is pretty cool in the way that he starts off at the beginning, but then gradually improves his mecha over time, and you can see it in his designs philosophy as well. So it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Year 2?
Yeah. Number 2.
Please.
Oh shit, what was it? Number 2 is... Yeah! There it is. Number 2
Oh my
is
god.
Sword Art Online.
Okay. Keep going.
Sword Art Online is probably what kick-started this decade of anime, I guess? Is what I'm gonna say? Yeah. This came out in the same year as what I consider like the big 3, maybe? Sure? Yeah.
What
the
do you mean
big
by
three
three?
of what made anime mainstream once more.
Once more. Wait, hold up. Once more?
Yeah. If we're
Wait,
if we're going by, I guess, anime popularity since the 90s, this would be the 3rd generation of it.
Wait, what? Why is there? Why did you say once more? What was the first?
In our generation, what is the most popular anime out there? What are the the big 2? 2 to 3. It started the anime revolution in the West.
Like, are you talking about in the 90s or what?
Yeah, in the 90s.
I don't know. Bebop? Something. I don't know.
No. You go farther back. Near. It's Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fine, I'll throw in Yu-Gi-Oh! In there, and Dragon Ball. That's the 90s of anime.
Are you comparing? Are you legit comparing Pokemon and like Dragon Ball to Sword Art Online.
That's when
It's
anime first started to rear its head in the U.S. and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna watch this on Saturday morning. This is great." And then we fast forward to the 2000s. What was the most popular anime around that time? Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Bleach, Death Note. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that was when it was on Toonami. All right. And then there was a lull for maybe 5 to 10 years where anime started to die out because Toonami was dying on Cartoon Network, so no one really knew what to do.
Okay.
Then fast forward to the 2010s and 2011s, anime came back, better than ever.
With Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online, Attack on Titan, Psycho Pass, Madoka.
Wait, those are like all like pretty relatively different years, right? Like
Oh.
Madoka and like Sword Art
2012.
2012.
I believe it's 2012.
Madoka?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
All,
Madoka
these were
was
all. This
fair.
is
Yeah,
big.
Madoka
This is
was
all in the same
2012.
year.
What about
Attack on Titan.
Psychopaths though?
I think
Psychopaths.
it was.
Really?
Yeah.
I think so.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
You thought I was blowing smoke, Spire? I know. I
It's
was.
the year of Urabuchi, dude.
Yeah,
The year.
Spire,
Yeah.
I was there when it happened. I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest
So
thing
was
ever.
I.
No, you weren't.
What? What does that mean? Sorry, I was just erased from that part of
Yeah,
history.
you started with JoJo. Fucking
Yeah, sorry.
poser.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, this was the year where anime started to where it became mainstream again. This was when
Jesus
people could see
Christ.
that anime could be a serious medium.
What?
Excuse
Yeah,
Sword Art?
Sword Art Online.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Serious medium. Anime could tell great stories with interesting characters, a vibrant world, and some openings that slap. Sword Art Online is the pinnacle of the resurgence of anime that we see today. And even though some people may hate it,
Really gonna protest you on that one.
it is the one of the progenitors of this generation's isekai, and you can't hate it for it, haters. I do agree that season 2 of the first season or part 2 of the first season of Sword Art Online gets kind of but after that it's still good. It's still good. Also, Yuki Kajiura, Yuki Kajiura blows it away in this series. You ever listen to Swordland? I have. It's pretty cool. Sword Art Online is the best isekai progenitor of this season or this decade, and I hope there's more to come. Yeah.
I don't.
I'm just taking a very big mental time, but either way, thank you, Toast, for your top 5.
Yeah, 'cause
I still need one.
Oh, he's got
I still
one.
got one
dude.
left. What's wrong with you?
Oh, sorry. I thought you had Sword Art Online as fucking number 1 because
I would have
fucking-
been screaming, dude.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. I like lost, like, not even lying, guys.
Yeah,
After
well, hold
Toast
your
said,
horses on that one.
after Toast said
What do you
Sword
got
Art
on number
Online,
one?
I like started losing track of like everything of the universe. I was just like, are we even on Earth right now? Like, it was that level of like losing track. But Toast, I apologize. What is your number 1?
Because no one remembers Dot Hack, so it's all about Sword
Nobody
Art now.
remembers Dot. Excuse me.
Yeah. When was the latest Dot Hack anime? That's right, 2007, right? And it wasn't even Dot Hack. It was like a weird spin-off.
Anyways, what's your number 1? Toast?
And I know Session, but no one remembers it. That's the problem.
Literally everyone who ever played Dot Hack remembers Dot Hack.
Yeah, but where they are now, they don't watch anime. They just play Dot Hack.
Oh my god.
And my number 1 goes to Rocket Aikishi.
Oh my god.
Rocket
I'm done,
Aikishi
man. I'm out.
is the
Wait,
greatest
no,
anime
You didn't-
ever told.
Oh, okay.
Toast got us.
It's I mean, this is well. I mean, my number 1 is easy, but the deliberation between me, myself, and I over
Why don't
which
you pick
one.
Asterisk Squirrel or Toast?
'Cause that one sucks. Rocket Aikishi's better.
Shut the fuck up.
God damn it.
You've been over this, Spire.
Every time.
Asterisk War is a blatant rip-off of Rocket Aikishi with lightsabers. It's not good. It's like Infinite Stratos, but you cut it in half and replace maybe 20% of it with a harem. It's not good.
Having this podcast while I have like
Wait,
I
what?
still have a cough. It's
Excuse
like
me. Excuse me. What did you just say?
You cut it.
How do you replace
Replace
anything?
20%.
Infinite Stratos with harem. Infinite Stratos is a harem.
What harem is there? He only likes the ponytail chick that I forgot the name of.
I cannot believe you're
just because he keeps shooting for one girl doesn't mean the other girls aren't like in the harem. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, okay, look, in
Not-
Data Live, if at the end of the volume, the main character always comes back to Toka because Toka is fucking retarded and needs care like a baby. That doesn't mean that Data Life is not a harem, right? Because he spent the rest of the volume fucking like dealing with messing around with the girl that's on the front cover of that volume, right? Like
Aspire, Ichika doesn't even like girls. He's oblivious to all their advances. How can you call that a
I
harem?
apologize. Yeah,
But
Sounds
you're
like a
anyway,
harem
where we
protagonist to me.
Where are we talking about? Oh yeah, I had to
Yeah.
pick three. I had to pick between three, maybe four different Fate series for this one. It was either going to be Fate Zero,
You can have
Un-
I wouldn't mind if you just had like a general like because
Unlimited.
like Fate had a big
Well,
chunk of the Fran
I
decade,
don't.
right?
I don't
Like-
think. I don't think that counts. I think 0 UBW is fine, but you can't say all of Fate because then you have Apocrypha.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it was
You
either
also have
it was
Next
either
Gen.
this between Fate Zero,
Yeah,
Unlimited
Next Gen.
Blade Works, Carnival Phantasm, or Fate Extra Last Encore. And in the end,
Okay.
I have to pick with probably the most important Fate of this decade, and it's Fate Zero.
Okay.
Because before Fate Zero, regrettably enough, Fate was just another modern fantasy series. It didn't really stick in many people's minds. It was just like, hey, there's this series, but King Arthur, hey, masters and servants in a war, very akin to most other fantasy series nowadays. And
Okay.
people who liked it before Fate Zero, like me, us old guards. These are what is it?
The old guard?
Ancient anime watchers.
No,
The
near
ancient
us counter guardians of the world.
what the fuck? You're gonna have to explain that one to me because I'm
Shut the
not.
fuck up, Toes.
See, Nier gets it, and that's all that matters. Counter
Okay,
guardians
keep going.
are the ones in red that rise up when the Earth is in mortal danger of extinction and whatnot. Usually for humanity. Like I don't know if there was a global ice age, the counter guardians would come in to stop it. But yeah, like this just really doubles back to the SAO age, but one year before where anime started becoming cool again.
Oh, okay, keep going.
It's definitely a very mature anime, very rewatchable, lots of interesting characters. One of two of Gen Urobuchi's finest writing works, maybe three if you count in Kamen Rider Gaim. I mean, Kamen Rider Gaim started to slack at the end, but had a good ending. I liked it. Also, what else did you? Madoka was another contender up here. But
Okay.
to be honest, I only really liked Madoka of this decade, and it didn't. I think, for me personally, it didn't lead up to any other watchings of magical girl anime. Unlike Fate Zero, it's like, oh man, I remember that old Fate anime I watched maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It was good, but this is even better than that.
Yeah, it didn't set a it didn't set a repetitive example, or it didn't set a good template in
Yeah,
a
it
sense.
didn't set up a premise for me to watch the rest of the series. I mean, Fate was
Mhm.
good, but
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, obviously not sure. But like a lot of people tried it. It's just
it definitely had its shortcomings due to the animation, Studio Dean. There was nothing wrong with the music, because that music's really good. But it was mostly, I believe, it's mostly due to Studio Dean's. I can I say incompetence? No. Oh, Studio Dean and the original visual novels design because it's dated. It's like 2004. It looks old. It looked uh, it looked like it's slightly, it looked of its time. But Fate Zero definitely set up a revolution.
Come on, it looked like shit, bro.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you can blame Studio Dean for Archer Lancer. I think that's fair. I think that's more
No,
than fair.
near. Do you remember that scene where Lancer uses Gaybolg on Saber? He points it at his feet, and then it goes through heart. It looked
Yeah.
bad both ways. You have to
it looked
admit.
bad.
Yeah. But yeah, Fate Zero, revolution in animation.
Okay.
I completely 100% believe it was UFO Table's continued progression after Karno Kyokai. They set the premise for this. Fate Zero is great. All of Fate is great, except maybe Prisma Ilia. But you can circumvent that by watching Oh Thunder Snow. Yeah, Fate is probably the best, or I guess, yeah, I'll say it. Fate is probably the best anime of my lifetime, and it probably won't be overtaken. I mean, before this, it was either this or Inuyasha. I think I'll take Fate any day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my list.
Okay. Thank you, Toast, for your top 5. Patch. Hey guys, come on. Let's go. Hey. We have to recognize that everybody
Hey
has
man,
a top.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
We have to recognize that everybody has their top 5 lists, and it's fine. And
This
with
is a top 5 list.
that, with that,
I like 3 of those.
we're gonna move on to our.
What don't you like about a Danchi Coco say?
Yeah, I apologize
Yeah,
for hating
that
Dutch
was
Coco.
that sure was one of the ones I don't like.
Anyways, with that, we're gonna move on to our worst 5, and by worst 5 we mean literally just the worst series of the decade with some sort of evaluation. And this will be a little bit quicker than the best 5 for obvious reasons. So I'm gonna try to go through it a little bit more briefly. Number 5. Oh, when I say worst 5, I mean I hated it. It represented a lot, that's bad about anime stories or whatever, stuff like that.
I wonder how many
Mostly
overlaps
focusing on
we'll get.
stories. Probably none. Maybe one.
I think we'll have a little bit.
I count 2 at least.
And then for me, it's also important on how the series afterwards, like the series that were both adapted and kind of written after this series, kind of spawned all sorts of cretins, right? So that's a little bit important to me. Number 5. Coming in hot, and I've talked about this a lot of times, is Guilty Crown. Guilty Crown.
Good pick.
I don't even know. Guilty Crown is absolutely the prime example of you can have really good audio visuals. I mean, although some of the scenes, some of the stuff at the end was a little bit funky. For the most part, you can have good visuals. You can have great audio, opening, ending, whatever, stuff like that. And throughout all, you can have like the greatest casting in the world, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just you'll have if you have a terrible fucking story that makes no sense, and all the characters suck. It's just bad. It's just so bad. Like everything about it is so bad. Just the premise, the characters, the way they develop, the way they interact. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a primary example of how you can design all those things like audiovisually and still come out with like a shitty fucking series. That's the problem. And it's just I don't know. It was so disappointing. There are so many like weird shit with it. Like that one part where it's like that Dan Eagle Man or whatever, the blonde dude with like the patriotic like red, white, and blue belt or whatever, launched the surface to air missiles at like the opponent on the ground or something, like all of this like weird shit going on. It's like why? Like what did I do to suffer? Definitely number 5. Number 4. This also
Hold
pride.
on, Spire. Would you call Guilty Crown the proto darling in the Franks? I see that red color, red and white and black coloring. They look similar.
I'm not.
That's a very, very popular coloring.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you. It's a question. I wouldn't say it's a bad question, but I say probably not. I mean, it's just Darling and the Franks had a lot of fucked up things going on for it, but that was like a slightly different beast than what Guilty Crown was.
I don't know.
Um,
I kind of liked Guilty Crown when I came out.
Well,
It says
uh,
7.65. That's higher than Fate Extra Less Encore.
no comment. Number 4, Sword Art Online.
I believe you're
So,
wrong, but I'll let you have your. I'll let you speak.
all right. So, Sword Art Online is the, honestly the most tiresome excuse any fan can have of any anime fan can have for watching anime in the decade. Where it's just like if you need so many justifications to like watch a series, it's not good. It's just like the amount of shit that not only do they not like even dispute, like again, the part just before Alicization where Kirito gets attacked by nanomachines by thieves in his sleep to reset the entire thing for a third time and go into another virtual world. That's just like everybody agrees that that's garbage. Like nobody's just like, wow, that nanomachine attack was such a great way to Deus Ex Machina the entire thing. It's like no.
It wasn't a.
And
Oh, no, never mind. Keep going.
or just like essentially an asshole is what I'm saying. Um, and the whole like literally the only justification Sword Art Online fans have been making for the past majority of the decade when I say something like yeah Sword Art Online sucks, or when anybody says Sword Art Online sucks is oh but the first arc was okay. First of all, that is not a good justification even if the first arc was okay. It's just like, oh, just everything else is garbage. It's like, okay, well, fuck off. Secondly, the first arc was not good. Like, at I can't name like a single thing in the first arc of Sword Art Online, the anchored arc, that stood out. Like, there's not a single thing that stood out. Like Asuna doing hero and things, was that standout, or was Kirito being in a virtual world doing sword things, was that standout? Was like what's so stand out about Anchored Arc that it was okay, quote unquote? There was just nothing. And again, just I'm so tired. I'm just so tired of like Sword Art Online is like I'm okay with Sword Art Online fans like watching it and liking, the Lonely Beater, wield his double black swords in whatever
Not double
form.
black sword spire. One's black, the other one's made of dragon poop.
Okay, I apologize. And just going through everything for the 50 billionth time. If you like it, whatever. But don't tell me to my face that it is a good series.
It's
Like,
a good
okay.
series.
Toast is the only one I'll say that in front of my face. But yeah, so disappointing. Or not even disappointing, just disgusting, honestly. Next, third on the list, Haganai. So it's Boku wa Tomodachi ga Tsukunai.
I know
I believe,
why. I know why.
yeah, everybody here knows why, and most likely any viewer of the podcast that has heard me talk about Haganai or Boku wa Tomodachi ga Tsukunai, or I don't have many friends, probably knows why.
It's not even the anime's fault, is it? It's the ending's fault.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, uh, Haganai is just everything. Like, if you were to be like, okay, I don't like rom coms because of X, Y, like A, B, C, D, all the way down to X, Y, Z, and I'd be like, okay, well, those are like those are things that happen in some wrong, not necessarily like a trait of all of them. What series did you watch? And then you said Haganai. I would have nothing. I would have nothing to combat. I'll be like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It's just like Haganai took everything that could have gone well in rom-coms and just turned them into garbage. And it was just like it had the hand that went nowhere. It had the the MC that did nothing. It had the we're gonna get an unconventional ending, really. And then it had the drama that had the development. It had more drama that had no development. It had side characters come in like 8 chapters in, and you think they kind of do something, but then they don't do anything. And then they have background development, but then the background flashbacks and whatever and the introspections don't do anything. And it's just like and just so much stupid shit going on. None of it's good. Everybody's just like, oh, I just like this girl. I like this girl. Blah. She's pretty. Blah blah. And then at the end of the day, as Toast mentioned, also like the ending, and this is going a little bit outside of the anime, but it's just like the reason why I'm talking about this outside of the anime is because the author chose to um have a very very bad ending, and there are Reddit posts and whatever that describe translate the ending of the anime and stuff like that.
Okay, let's give it a comparison, Spire. Orimo
Yeah.
had an ending, but it was definitely not as bad as Haganai's ending. And even
No, it was not. It
and
was.
even you can even
I
say
admit it.
Nisekoi, where the big Toge
Nisekoi
versus
did not have a bad ending.
Yeah,
Nisekoi
it
is
did.
just bad.
Yeah.
It's just bad. But Oreimo had like okay. So the reason why Oreimo did the way it did, I did not like, but I understood why it went on. Again, it was too mainstream, right? You can't have the Oreimo author worked with the government. You can't have a government like sponsored anime, about incest. You know what I mean? But Haganai had none of those issues, and yet it still turned out to be one of the shittiest endings. And it's just like the author at the end was just like, by the way,
he gave
I was
up.
just trolling. Yeah, I was just trolling you guys. I'm like, yeah, all right, bro. Okay, yeah. You just do that.
I mean,
Um,
there was even a big setup where one of the characters is all like, "Hey, she's your childhood friend and she's your fiance and she's really into you, but guess what? Nah, never mind."
yeah, it was so disappointing, and it paved. I personally believe that sort of attitude is honestly not only like criminal, almost like in my opinion, in terms of like writing stories out coherently, but it gives a free pass for others to do the same, right? Like now, this author is just like, "Hey, I wrote this shitty ending. You didn't like it? Oh, I was just trolling you guys." Now every motherfucker on the street is just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I wrote this ending and it was just weird and it just got chopped off and then suddenly the main Purin just jumped off a cliff. Oh yeah, I was just trolling." That sort of lazy, that sort of, I give up, or not even I give up, it's just like I don't have any ideas because I didn't bother because whatever, fuck this story. That is the most criminal thing, honestly, you can do to a story that a lot of people love. And honestly, even if a lot of people didn't love it, just any story that should have ended quickly. It was just so disappointing to see an author do that, and that's why it gets number 3. Number 2, and this was also mentioned in my in the last awards list, and it is Arifureta from Commonplace to the World's Strongest.
Ah, there it is.
And I have to give again, I personally am not a hater of isekai. I know a lot of people that are.
I
But
am.
yeah, Toast knows me, and I like isekai, and I might have seen or
Someone
read
clip
as
that, by
much
the way.
as much isekai, and maybe even more than he has at times in certain sections of the internet. But there's like stuff like Arifureta is why when people are like, I don't like isekai, I can't say anything. I can't say like what can I say? It's just like it's the worst thing. It goes on too long. It has weird fucking spin-offs and after stories that make no sense and are useful. It has the revenge, the protagonist that doesn't actually do that much revenge. It has him being overpowered and just grows white hair and just shoots out chain guns or whatever. And then the main heroines don't really develop. They're just kind of heroines. They're just like, wow, Hajime, the main dude, is so cool. I just gotta get with him, which isn't development so much as it is like some sort of like, remorates, sticking onto the side of a stingray. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, I gotta stick under you, kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Remoraid's a Pokemon. Do you mean a Mantike? Or a Mantine? Is that it? Yeah, Mantine.
Mantine. What? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I forgot. I keep confusing the Pokemon for some reason with the actual name, which is really bad. But I apologize. But uh, and then they just stick under him and it's just like, oh, I'm just with you now, which is again criminal in terms of storytelling. And it's just like, what's going on? Like, and then the story doesn't have really anything. He's just, yeah, I'm gonna get my revenge. I'm gonna get my revenge. And then there are just like things happening on the sideline, which like doesn't even make sense at the end because again, a lot of this doesn't really matter until he gets up to the very very ending of the web novel / light novel, which doesn't again really appear in the anime. So it's just so again so disappointing. I can't like if somebody sees this and they're like, I hate Isekai. What can I say? Like this represents everything.
Ari Furita is when you take Spires number 4, Sword Art Online, and crank it up even further beyond that.
Even further beyond, yeah. And number 1 is Orega Iru, or My Youth Romantic Comedy is what
Wow, really?
I
What?
expected.
You mean Snap?
Yeah,
What is it? Snafu thing? What is it?
Yeah, My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. Full Japanese name is Yahari Ore no
Snafu.
Seiju Rabokome ga Machikaete iru.
That's unexpected. See, Spire, I believe this list more than your actual guest list.
Does please. So again, Ori Imo is like it wasn't good, but it had like potential. It just turned out really sour because the author was just like, by the way, I can't actually do it. This guy, sorry. Oregairu is bad in just like all of the cancerous ways. It's just like all of the things that I don't want. Somebody writing a coherent love comedy to be. So what I mean by that is like somebody's just gonna be like, I want to write a unique, rom com or whatever, right? And then they're like, oh, how do I write unique characters? How do I do this? And then they see something like Oregairu or Snafu. And that'll be the point where I'm just like, well, this author has chosen to die. It's just the most cancerous shit. It's like all of the characters are just like, oh, you know, why why should I help you, or like why should I do this or that? And then just magically jumps in at near the end of the volume. And then the main character is just like, I'm antisocial, but I can magically solve all these social problems because I'm a pessimist, unlike these optimists.
Because
I'm
he's
just like,
based in red pill, dude.
yeah, face red. It's just like, and like maybe if he had this thing where he showed fluent like conversation with the people like at the beginning and like consistently, that would be one thing. He's just like, I just am antisocial. I cause all these problems, and then he just like bumps into people, and then in the last every volume or every arc, he's just like, by the way, it's time to solve this problem, and he just like ultra instincts and says exactly the right things and presses exactly the right buttons. I'm just like, first of all, the stuff that you did makes no sense and will probably get you punched in the face in like any actual like realistic scenario. Second of all, why are you so like Jekyll on Hyde? Like this makes no sense. Like why are you just like, "Ugh. By the way, I can do perfect rhetoric." Like right? It's like, and it's just like that's not. Not only is a convenient plot solving device not a a proper main character, but this Oregairu becoming popular, and Hachiman being so edgy and wow, I'm so antisocial except when I don't need to be, and you know it ending up on the number one novel, and everybody's just like, that's so me. It's so I'm so dark, and I don't want to interact with people. But when I do, I'm perfect. I hit all the social links. You know what I mean? It's just like that's just like oh, it paved the way for so many fucking stupid shit to happen. It's the same thing with Bunny Girl Senpai, right? Albuta. It's a fucking Albuta is like the dude just being like, yeah, I don't really do stuff with people. I'm not really like the sheep type. When I do, or like I don't really do much, but when I do, like I get it on. I can solve all the problems, and it's just like, come on, this is like this is like literature in the same way green eggs. This is the way. This is about as unique to storytelling as green eggs and ham is to like complex literature. It's just like the entire MC's identity is just based on him. Oh, I could just get it on when I want to. Just so tiring, and it paved the way for so much garbage. And people still like it. People still think that oh wow, this character's so unique. You don't get to see why is Ichika not more like Hachiman? It's like I mean Ichika from Infinite Shredders is good, but that doesn't mean Hachiman is good either. It's just like so tiresome. But yeah, I've ranted about this more than once, and just I hope this goes away. I hope this series and others of its like Albuta, other garbage stuff, just like I hope it just stops. It's just so tiring to watch. But that was my number one, Oregairu. And moving on, Nier.
Yeah, good job, Spire.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Toast.
Your hatred is actually well documented.
Well directed.
Well believable.
All right.
I believe that you hate these series.
Yeah. I can't believe that you actually like JoJo. It's like I can't believe it's not butter, but it's like with JoJo.
I can't believe you like JoJo.
Yeah.
I cannot believe Spire watched JoJo.
Oh my god. Anyways, Nier, what is your
Um,
worst 5?
Yeah, so my worst 5, the way I kind of went about categorizing these is basically just series that made me like actually angry watching. Um, I watch a lot of stuff that I don't finish, a lot of stuff that I drop, a lot of stuff that I figure that's like, this isn't very good. But there's not very many stuff that I watch that actually makes me like mad. Or, like almost offends me, like offends
Puke
my
in your
eyes
mouth a little bit.
that I'm like
That
actually
is it.
seeing this on the screen. And my number 5, I kind of did a little bit of a cheat here. It's a season 3 of something.
Yeah.
But I had to talk about this. Like I had to.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure me and you, Spire, we did like our own podcast on this series.
Okay.
And it's Working season 3.
Yes.
You mean
Yeah,
Wagneria?
you did do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy shit. Like this season was so bad.
It was very disappointing.
It was mind-blowing. So, Working is a series that I like quite a bit. Season 1 and 2, very good. They're solid comedy series, right? And then season 3 comes out, and I'm watching it, and Spire's watching it, and I'm talking to Spire, and I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with this season? Like, I've never seen a sequel to an anime that was so rushed yet felt so painfully slow.
Yeah.
like it was like a freak of nature. Like there is nothing that happens. Like
I think the
realistically.
closest I've come is like watching Dog Day season, but even that was kind of like, oh, it's a kids show kind of thing feeling.
Yeah.
And then Yuri Yuri season, that was at best. That was
Yeah, but like working season 3 is the season where it's like the series is like, oh, I've been doing this like episodic comedy stuff for a while now. Maybe I should like develop these characters, right? But then it's like it's like the series is like I need to develop these characters now.
yeah.
But
Oops, third
the
season.
writing is like I don't know how the fuck to do that. So the series like the season has this sense of like almost urgency of like these characters need to develop, things need to happen in these characters' lives, like romance needs to start happening, drama needs to start happening, but then
Mhm.
they're put into these positions where it's like there's nothing happening.
Right,
Like
exactly.
you obviously see that something is supposed to be happening, like the characters are supposed to be being pushed towards something, but the way it's written is the characters are like oblivious to the fact that something is supposed to be happening between them. It was a mind-bogglingly like just upsetting to watch. Like it was so fucked. And that's why it's on my number 5. Like it was weird. My number 4 goes to Al Noah Zero.
Yeah, I had Tender for sure.
Yeah, Al Noah Zero, it starts off, it's like, whoa, this new mecha series from Gen Urobuchi, right? It's gonna be dark and people are gonna die. And then, 2 episodes come out and then it's like, yeah, Gen Urobuchi's gone. Um, and then the series has to keep going, right? And it's not good. It's really bad. It tries to like do this, political, like behind the scenes politics and this war that's going on between.
Half the time it's about like random politics and like class warfare, and the other
Yeah,
half is just like Grimace Mech eating like a highway.
yeah, and then it's like, whoa, dude, we got robots and they're shooting each other and things are exploding and people are dying. And then later on in the series, it's revealed that the entire reason for the war, which was the princess being like assassinated, didn't happen. The princess faked her fucking death.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
Oh, it's
so
a twist.
the princess fakes her death, right? This is supposed to be a big twist, but the princess faked her death, and she was literally aware of everything that was happening, and she just chose not to stop this war. Why? Is she just an awful fucking person? Did she
Shaking
just
my
not
head.
care about her like entire her country at all? Like it was just absolutely horribly written political
She
drama.
needs a twist. She needs a twist.
Just absolutely horrible. I think it probably would have ended up pretty bad, even if it was an absolute train wreck of a production.
Mhm.
Just what a bad series. My number 3, I mean, I had to give it to this somewhere. Is Akunohana.
Yeah.
Just another series that just like it's just offensive to watch. Like it's so dumb.
No, dude, it's supposed to be Uncanny Valley. Did you
It's
read that top 10 of the decade?
I mean, like let's be real. Akunohana's fucking hideous. It is an absolutely disgusting looking show.
It's on purpose.
It's a rotoscoped anime, right? Which on paper, like fine. If you want to rotoscope something, go for it. Like there's good examples of rotoscoping, right?
Yeah.
There's good examples of rotoscoped movies, like A Scanner Darkly. But Akunohana looks like fucking dog shit. It's absolutely hideous.
Wasn't
The
there Wasn't there
character
a
designs are not good.
a live action version of this?
Yeah,
I
there
think
was.
they did like
Why-
a comparison. They did a comparison video.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a live action movie or something.
I believe they just rotoscoped the live action like
I wouldn't be surprised.
actors for this.
But like, regardless of the visuals, this story sucks. The characters are like, they act like fucking aliens, man. Like, it's just horribly written, absolutely hideous to look at. But there's some good music in it, so there's that.
Thing.
My number 2 goes to another series that just like irrationally made me mad, just because of like the things that were happening on the screen. It's Irazuku Sakai no Ashtakara.
Yes. Yes.
This series really upset me.
It was good. The World in Colors, I believe.
Yeah. I was debating either putting this or Glasslip on my list,
It's
but
the same fucking. It's like
yeah,
semantics
I mean,
almost.
it's more or less the same. But I feel like for me, Glasslip was like it was disappointing, but at the end of the day, it was mostly just boring, right?
Yeah. I agree.
For this one, I mean, for me, it was like it's like a repeat offense, like
Fool me once.
yeah, like come on, man, like you guys, like PA Works should have, like they should have known, like
Yeah.
you. I don't know who was like overseeing production on this and was like, yeah, this is fine. Like it sucked ass.
Yeah. It was
Nothing
not
was
good.
happening. The
Yeah.
characters like sucked ass. It pissed me off, man. It's just so disappointing. And my number 1, I mean, pretty much inevitable, right? It had to be Berserk. Like,
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yes.
it had to be. Like, just
Oh yes.
Which season?
does it matter? Like, fuck, man. Just what an absolute train wreck. Like,
Berserk.
it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting to see something that like you've basically grown up with, right?
It had no money. Yeah.
Yeah, the series that really nobody's heard of, right? I mean, come on, let's be real. Berserk is like on par with JoJo in popularity, right? Like
Yeah, for sure.
it is a pop culture like phenomenon in Japan and outside of Japan. It's quite popular,
Yeah.
right? Like how do you do this? Like how do you be like, yeah, let's make a Berserk anime and hire some of the worst studios imaginable and make it into a fucking dog shit CG mess?
What
Like-
a fucking.
Like what the fuck is wrong with you?
Wasn't it outsourced? That was one of the main problems of it.
I mean, yeah, but like who is overseeing production for one of the biggest IPs like in Japan?
Yeah, and they gave
To
it to
have
like two
something-
studios that are very small, like Militancy and Gemba.
Studios
Neither
that,
of
like
which are like,
nobody had fucking heard of,
Yeah.
right? Like, it makes me so mad. Like, there's been so many opportunities for Berserk to have a really, really good adaptation, and pretty much every single time they've blown it. And it's baffling.
Yeah.
I hate this series. It really fucking pisses me off.
so unfortunate. So yeah. Anyways, thank you, Nier, for your worst 5. Patch.
Yeah.
And we move on to Dark.
Yeah.
Dark.
All right.
Your bottom 5, please.
So I should preface this: all but one of these falls under a somewhat tragically disappointing series as worst.
That's
I
definitely a
don't
classic.
really go out of my way to watch things that are bad. The
Sometimes bad
only
things just pop
exception
up on
that I
you.
actually removed from my list last second was Another, and I did watch Another, but it's like a fucking meme, so you know I did decide to remove that, and I removed that in favor of what's coming in at number 5, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphan.
Ah,
I think Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans is actually one of the worst things I've forced myself to go through because I liked season 1 a little bit. Yeah, and Cecian, here's why I'm saying like why I wanted to preface my, like tragically disappointing. Uh Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans had some good characters. Season 1 was entertaining, and season 1 didn't really have problems that season 2 had. So spoilers for Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphan. The mechs were really cool. The story started out really cool. It was almost like it reminded me of almost like Metal Gear, in the sense that they're doing their rogue state bullshit mercenary group. No, it was delayed. Season 2 wasn't rushed. You see, the problem with season 1 and season 2 is that they're written by Okada Marie. And I don't know why this was decided, but what happened was season 1 had like one character death, one major character death, and it was like
Yep.
really impactful.
yeah.
It was at like the very end too, right?
Yeah, and it was at the very end, and I was like, oh shit. But then season 2 was like, all right, but what if we killed every character every episode? Like one character per episode, or every other episode. And not only did they do that, you could tell in the previous episode who was going to die because they would just
Yeah.
raise a massive death flame.
Yeah, like literally episode was like at the end of an episode, one character would be like, "Oh, I'm 1 day away from retiring." Like,
Yeah,
and they
it was,
fucking die.
wow, I can't wait for this person to come back. I really love them. And it's like, okay, they're dead. They're actually dead next episode.
It's like that meme about it where it's just like how it's in like light novels and stuff like that these days, or like in manga and anime, it's like they joke about like raising flags. It's like that, but like actually carried out.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like, oh, I'm gonna propose and this is all over. Fucking
Yeah, exactly.
like, uh, it- I'm trying to think of some other good ones. I mean, Orga's was like insane. Like, dude, Orga's like, first of all, Orga's death was like fucking wild, but like his death flag, like the episode happened before he died. You're just like, they're gonna do this to him? What?
Shake my head.
Like holy shit! Like, and also the story in season 2 just like became hard to follow because of how much random shit was happening. Like a dude got rebuilt as a robot or something, and then they put him in another robot, and there was like a king, but he wasn't a king, and there was like a chosen god Gundam, but it wasn't a god at all, and it just turned into a mess. But yeah, it was. But that's why I say like it was. It was fucking like it could have been cool. It could have been cool because the mechs were cool, and season 1 was cool, and even the mechs in season 2 were fucking awesome. And then it just went the way it did, and it really, really disappoints me to this day.
Would you say it's or would you say it's the worst Gundam series of all time?
I haven't seen enough Gundam to be honest. Probably not. I'd say Build Divers probably has even less redeemable.
We don't. I wouldn't count those. Those are like alternate universe, even more so.
Either way,
spin-offs.
though,
All right.
I haven't seen enough.
Oh yeah, Reconquista. Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
Reconquista,
God.
Reconquista. What a classic.
Ooh.
Frick, gee.
No, that's the true Gundam. Remember, that's the true Gundam.
I
for
think-
you
Fuck
people.
off, dude.
I think the only Gundams I've really seen are Unicorn. Some of it was some of Unicorn, all of
Trinity.
Seed, all of G Gundam, and I forget what else. Yeah, and then also IBO. I still gotta watch Thunderbolt, but I hear good things about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so IBO is definitely up there. Like IBO is very bad as like a show. It's got cool mechs, but like as a full show, it's really fucking bad. But
Number 4?
yeah, so now for my number 4 was another show that I don't think is like one of the worst shows of the decade in the sense that, it didn't have, again, like it has like nothing redeemable about it. But it was
Okay.
definitely one of the shows that I kept up with. I was like, you were close. You almost had it. But like it kind of doesn't do anything. Was
Right, exactly.
Recreators.
Oh my god,
Um
don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
Recreators, like the designs were cool, the premise was cool. Some of the story was like pretty good, it had some cool fights, picked up in places, and I was like, okay, that's fun. But ultimately, like by the time Recreators was done, I was just bored. Like I was just really, really bored. Um, and I wish I liked it more. I wish there was a lot less like just exposition. Um, and I wish that they instead of having, I don't know, like instead of having so many fights, like I wish the show was like 12 episodes and couldn't like
Mhm.
bullshit too much because like the beginning of Recreators was cool because it was a little mysterious, and then it had some really cool fights, had good audio visuals, good opening, you know. Um, but then it just starts not only doing exposition to you through the like librarian, the book girl from the game. I think it was like Medion or
Mhm.
Metera or something. Um,
Uh, the white hair
Meteora.
girl.
Meteora, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it was a Linkin Park album.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so like she just kind of starts saying random shit. Like she's like, the world will start unraveling, but there's no evidence of that. Like even if they showed like fucked up things happening in the world, like I would have accepted it. But by that point, like they don't even show that. It's like, nah, we're just gonna take her word for it. All right, that's a bit much. So that was the unfortunate part because I feel like if it was shorter, it and they had to condense everything,
Mhm.
uh, even then that would have at least improved it because they wouldn't have had time to linger on a lot of shit.
Right, right, right. Very, again, very unfortunate in a sense.
Yeah, it was
It,
more
it had,
it's more unfortunate and disappointment than it is like just downright awful.
right, right, right.
Uh, and so for my third, following a very similar theme, is Kumamiko. What
Mmm,
an
Oh
interesting.
boy.
interesting predicament
Oh boy, I love that
that
ending.
happened here. Um, like, so Kumamiko was like pretty entertaining in the beginning, and then like as it went on a little bit more and more, it starts to like you're like this is really running in circles in a way where it ain't great, but you kind of think by the end of it like the series is gonna sort it all out.
Right,
She's
right.
she's gonna learn a lesson or something like that. Everything's gonna be fine. And then that doesn't happen, and it runs itself in a circle again, and just kind of I don't even know. It was fucked. it was really fucked.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
just
like.
that ending again. The author had to come out and be like, "Oh, I don't know about this ending," essentially, right?
Yeah, the author was like, I don't know why they did that, but all right.
Wasn't my fault.
Yeah, he was like, I swear to God, it
Fantastic.
wasn't me.
Yeah,
So like, I still gotta read Kumamiko at this point because I don't want to leave off on that note.
yeah,
So yeah, I would definitely recommend staying the hell away from the anime because I don't know what the fuck, like why they did what they did, but they sure did it.
yeah. Again, very, very unfortunate that ended the way it did.
Um, and keeping up with the same theme, yet again, uh, Darling in the Franks for number 2.
Was it a disappointment though, or was it just like,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely, because like it even had really great episodes that I still like.
Oh
Flashback
yeah,
episodes.
it had the
I
flashback.
really like those.
Had the
I think
flashback
they're really
episode.
cool.
Yeah,
I think
it had a
him and
flashback.
like little demon 02
Yeah.
breaking
I
out
can.
of the facility, like I think that episode was really cool.
Yeah.
But like overall, like if Darling in the Franks was only 2 characters and like the rest of the characters were literally background noise forever,
Right.
I would have liked the series 1,000 times better. Because I
I
don't
can
think
see
there was
that. Yeah.
enough. I don't think there was really enough time given to as many characters that were. And I think each of the characters wound up having an interesting like story. But they were just like there were too many that they couldn't get through that on top of the mecha stuff, on top of like just, like the government stuff
The
that they
general
did on
drama and
top
like
of yeah.
this isn't the final villain.
Yeah, and I mean there was also that shit. The whack shit of like, all right, here's the worm by the way. Sure.
Fucking
Like I guess at this point, why the fuck not? Um but
spirals
yeah,
were at the end.
it was just really disappointing. Uh to have it go that way, especially with like the mecha designs. I thought the mecha design cool. Um it had really good opening.
Yeah,
Uh
the initial designs were pretty good.
yeah, and it just if there were either less focus on the characters or less characters in general to follow, it would end up being a lot better, like it just became a lot to like try and connect with between 02 and like Ichigo.
And all
And there
the
was
other
like the
people that
wet,
were
yeah, and
also
then it
having
was
like
like so you have
psychological
like
issues.
those four, yeah, you have those four. Then you have the girl who's just like, I'm a lesbian, by the way. Also, my hair's white. Still don't know why that happened, but uh, then there was like the pregnancy thing, and then there was like the two like comic relief characters that kind of resolved their thing, but
Yeah.
it was
They
just,
were like bantering between each other.
but yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. Me,
Yeah.
I feel very similarly to Darling Franks as I do about like TTGL.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
for obvious reasons, though, right? It's like, I mean,
yeah, it's like another thing where I feel like it goes too far. I think I was talking to Nier at one point where he brought it up, where I definitely would say I would like the show both a lot more, and probably just think it was solid if it ended like when
if it
they got
ended
like
with
the red mech upgrade.
I mean,
Like if it was like ended
me and you
around
have
there.
talked about this like a dozen times. It's literally the trigger issue.
Yeah.
Is they have no fucking clue how to pace series. Like they'll have this good setup, right? A good premise. They'll have good characters. They'll have good, designs, whatever. They'll have a decent story, right? Set up.
hmm
They'll tell the story decently. The story will end, and then the series has 12 more episodes that it has to keep going.
And then
Like
they're like, by
Yeah.
the way,
every
psychological problems.
every single time. It happened with Gurren Lagann, which, in my opinion, 100% that's a trigger series. Like, regardless
Yeah.
of what anyone says.
Yeah.
Happened with
Absolutely.
Gurren Lagann. Happened with Kill la Kill. It happened with Darling and Franks. Like, it happens with pretty much every series they do.
I mean, again, they all have similar. I mean, even Darling of the Franks was essentially the old Gainax Gurren Lagann crew circle jerk.
Yep.
The A1 people they pulled over were the old Gainax people. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
It
yeah,
technically ain't A1 at that point. It's just trigger guy now. So
yeah.
but yeah, it was it's a shame. Um Again, it definitely has like a lot of redeemable aspects to it, but ultimately uh
Yeah, it just kind of fell
it's
to his knees.
yeah, yeah, and I wish I liked all of these 4 series more. For my final one, it's a lot different actually. It has nothing to do with any of it. It's just a series that we watched, Spire, that I was just like, what did I fucking hate it. And
Okay.
I don't like when people tell me that I don't get it because I do get it, and I don't think it's very good.
Does it
And
involve
it's
punching?
no, it doesn't
Okay.
actually, because I do get that, and I just don't like it.
Does it involve epicness?
It does involve Epic.
Oh,
It involves
oh,
Pop
yes,
Team for that.
yes,
I fucking
yes.
hate Pop Team Epic. I don't think it's funny.
Pop.
Um,
Team.
People say I don't get it. I get it, 1000%. I don't think it's good. Like, I just don't
No,
think the joke's good.
the memes. The
Yeah,
memes.
like I
Yeah,
watched. I
I
think I
love
want to say I
memes.
watched like the first
I
3 episodes
love
of that
memes.
show. Great opening. But
It
I
just doesn't.
fucking like. Oh,
Maybe you just don't
oof.
get modernist humor.
Yeah. I just. I no. I get the jokes. I get the jokes.
You like it
I'm
when
just not
when
laughing.
the episode repeats again. It's like the exact same thing, but
Oh, that
it's
was
like
weird. I mean, like
but
that's an interesting idea to
it's
do,
interesting,
but
but it's
it's
not
like
like
I would have liked
funny.
that if I actually liked the first 10.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Like that doesn't
I
really add to the comedy.
yeah, it doesn't do anything else. So it's like, all right. It just turned into a bunch of jokes that didn't land for me.
Yeah.
Like, if you like it, I guess it's not that I don't see the humor. I just don't find it funny, and I fucking despise when people are like, "You just don't get it."
Just again,
Doesn't get it at all. Like, why
yeah.
is that funny?
You just don't get the memes, bro.
I just don't get it. Like, I understand what's happening there,
You
but
know that part where they
I
get
just
really
don't think it's
angry?
funny.
They're like, "You die now,"
I
and
mean,
then everybody's
to be fair, like I like Pop Team Epic's 4 manga stuff like a lot, right?
I think there are
I
some
can see if it's
gags in
like,
it that are okay.
And
There's some gags
right,
in there.
yeah, right. Like I like the manga a lot,
Yeah,
but the anime sucks.
yeah.
Like it was very, very. I think it was really poorly translated. The jokes. Um, I don't think the anime was good, to be honest. Like the multiple VA gimmick was cool, I guess. Although I personally would have preferred um if the multiple VA thing was in like separate episodes, like there were at least 2 versions of the episode instead of being like, here's the episode. We're just gonna repeat the jokes twice in the same episode. I think that was kind of a weird decision, but like I think the anime was really bad, to be honest.
yeah, I think I've only seen like a couple panels for Coma. It's like not obviously not enough to even connect with it, but the 3 episodes I watched, I was just like, I don't like this at all. Didn't it was funny. So I would
Yeah.
say that that one down.
Also, one of the major crimes is that like it just pushed like random. It's like it kind of like, oh, how do I say it? It was just like people just like use like Pop Team Epic, like whatever stuff, and they're just like, yeah, it's supposed to be funny, dude. It's like that sort of like downhill spiraling. I think is the worst part of
It's
it.
supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
if you have
supposed
It
to
to be funny.
is.
describe something as it's supposed to be funny, that's kind of fucked.
Don't you get it?
Don't you get it?
Yeah,
It's
I think that was the
supposed
more
to be funny.
outside of whatever team tried or didn't try to do.
So,
It's
are you
I don't know.
saying Pop Team Epic is the Rick and Morty of anime watchers?
I've actually gotten more like laughs out of Rick and Morty scene. So no.
Don't you just love Pickle Rick? You just don't get it.
Okay,
Just
actually that might be on the same level. Cause like I see Pickle Rick and Pickle Rick ain't no Aberdolf Winkler, I'll tell you that much. That was a pretty good bit. But yeah, no, yeah, I guess this would be on the same level as like Pickle Rick.
yeah.
Maybe like Szechuan sauce. This is a
Shit.
Szechuan sauce of anime.
Shaking my head. But
Yeah,
anyways,
that's my list.
yeah,
I
thank you, Dark.
wouldn't
Huh?
I wouldn't discourage too many people from checking out some of these series, except for Kuma. I would say Darling in the Franxx is worth checking out just because its highlights are pretty
You
cool.
might as well watch it, yeah, and
Yeah,
have an
you may
opinion.
as well. Like, it's got
Yeah.
cool designs and like some pretty solid arcs. Uh,
Mhm.
just like if I had known from the beginning what I was in for, I probably would have liked the series more.
Yeah.
Um, Gundam IBO, similar in nature, but if you look at IBO in the light of it's gonna be cheesy, like, and not very good story wise. You might get a
I,
kick out of it.
I don't know, man. Honestly, if anybody came up to me and was like, "Hey, is Iron Blooded Orphans worth watching?" I would literally recommend them any other Gundam series.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
What about
you
Rekogu Stenji?
if
I
you've
would
seen
literally recommend them Requiem Quisten
if you've
like
seen
over IBO.
every other Gundam series, maybe you could watch IBO.
Yeah.
Make sure you watch Try before that. And then Recreators is like, if you can put up with it, you might be
Recreators is
able
like
to.
junk food, dude.
Yeah, you might be able to get through there. But
Yeah.
because Recreators has some cool shit in it, but you might not want to watch it
Yeah.
back to back.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. That being said, again, thank you, Dark, so much for your worst 5 of the decade. Patch. And
Yeah.
last but not least, Toast. What is your top 5 worst of the decade?
Okay. So let me also preface this by saying I don't hate a lot of things. I'm usually able to find maybe one or two good points of something I watch and be like, you know what, this is slightly not that bad. I can I can be like, it could have been worse. But then there are
I
just some shows that I I can find I can't really find the good points of,
okay.
and you know they're irredeemable. I these are just some of the things I absolutely hate
Okay.
because
It's
they're not
just
good.
they're
Yeah.
really fucking very positive kind of. But yeah, it's just press your buttons essentially.
How many Concoles are on this list?
All of them.
My number 5 is why isn't it appearing? My number 5 is Data Life.
What? Okay.
No,
Keep going.
it's actually Isekai Cheat Magician.
Ah, yes.
I
This series, huh?
I mean I would have put Ari Furita on here, but I like the manga art. That's all I can give it. Check out the manga
Yeah,
art; it's pretty cool.
I'm not particularly impressed with this one either.
Where'd my other things go?
Number 4.
Isekai Cheat Magician is probably the worst isekai of this generation.
It's very boring. I got.
Yeah,
Can't
exactly.
say much about it. Yeah.
The problem with it, it's completely boring and lackluster. Isekai smartphone. Wow, he has a smartphone. Good for you, dude.
Wow.
Good for you, dude. Death March. Okay, you got what is it? You got slaves. Nice. What else was there?
I'm not sure if we should be saying that on the
You got
podcast.
slave monster girls. Nice.
Nice.
Yes.
What else was worse? Mouse Sama retry. Hey, you got Kaiba's voice actor. Very cool. Isekai Cheat Magician. You've got none of these things. It's essentially a worse Kenjin no Mago. At least Kenjin no Mago has an interesting story and character dynamic compared to Isekai Cheat Magician. It's literally it's super vanilla basic -1. I mean, the guy's supposed to be a cheat magician overpowered, but he's not even that overpowered. I mean, I believe he loses his first major fight. Or he doesn't lose, he doesn't get a decisive victory with his cheat powers, and it's like, why do you have cheat powers in the first place?
Yeah.
Idiot.
Not too much exciting about it for sure.
And then, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. My
Okay.
number 4 is on the same vein as Nier, code vein. It's Akanohana. My God,
No,
this
Hana.
series is bad. Nier,
It's not good.
Nier is bad. It's got really good memes. You know, what is it?
Born of the bad things.
Yeah. Remember that, Nier? Remember that one scene where the chick sneaks up on the dude, and then like there's maybe 5 frames missing, and then he starts
Yeah,
running
there's
away.
just randomly jump cuts and he's screaming
So
the whole way. That
it's
scene
great.
is so dumb,
It's
dude.
so good. It's so bad. It's terrible. Akanohana is terrible. But like it was said earlier, this is probably a rotoscope anime from the live action because I believe the live action actors are who they picked for anime. It's not good. Some people may say it's deep. It's supposedly slightly creepy, you know, because real life is slightly creepy and unsettling. Then why didn't you just
Yeah,
why didn't
I
you
don't know
just
about.
watch the live action of this, not the anime? It's not good. Don't watch it.
Okay.
It's
Number
bad.
3.
It's bad. Number 3 hold on, is Kiwamiko.
Okay.
Why you gotta do the little girl dirty, my dudes? It started off good, and it was like, all right, we're finally gonna. I mean, if your ending is that polarizing to your audience, you know something's gone wrong
Was
there.
it even polarizing? Like,
If or
I feel like
not polarizing,
most people hated it.
if you're being condemned by the author himself, that's on the same level of Dragon Ball Evolution with Akira Toriyama. He's all like, I didn't sign off on this. Just remember, this is an alternate universe work series, not related to the original. Hey, buy the original. And it even went so far as to the director of Dragon Ball Evolution had to issue a formal apology some years later. It's like, hey, you know that crippling social anxiety you have, and that everyone makes fun of you, little girl? Too bad. We're gonna keep you here forever instead of you going out into the world and accomplishing something. Sure is great, huh? Yeah, no, it's terrible.
A very very unfortunate
But
adaptation.
don't.
Yeah.
If you want if you want to feel good about yourself, don't watch this.
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2 is one that I like, but also at the same time I hate.
Okay.
I really, really, really hate this, but I also really like it. So that's why it saves it from the top slot. And it is Fate Extra Last Encore. No, well shit. Wrong. Oops. Don't look. Don't look. You never saw that.
Spoilers.
Damn it.
It's over now.
No, I can change it. I can change it. Alright, number 2 is now Concole. There you go.
Oh my god.
We had an entire like mini podcast about how much we hated the Concole anime. How many people were there,
Yes.
Spire? Like 8?
There are at least 8, yes.
8 people were all like, this series could have been great, but it's not.
Just
The premise,
so
I
many
mean,
disappointments.
I was really, I mean, I think I have this to blame for my growing distrust in anime.
Growing. It all started from Concole.
I mean, Day Live, great, great. Rekindled my love for anime once more. Fate Zero, great. Concole, yeah. I like Nagato, she's cool. And then it's like, oh.
Yeah.
The problem with Concole
A
is,
lot.
I mean,
I still think that they should have just added in the admiral, but unfortunate.
yeah, it's wishy. Like I'm gonna sum it up. It's wishy-washy. One episode is good. We got combat stuff. You know, we're gonna talk about reenacting World War II, and then the next episode directly after this is Slice of Life. Slice of Life. It's a jarring contrast to the previous episode, and serves as a deterrent towards the overall flow of the series itself. It could have been
Yeah,
great. I mean,
yeah.
the movie was good. Yeah, pretty good. But season one of Concole, you realize, yeah, you ever notice why there wasn't a season 2? It's because Concole. I mean, Concole season 1 was very bad. Oh, the opening is still better than Azure Lane. Don't 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 misinterpret me on that. But it's wasted potential, I would say. Wasted potential
yeah.
and a big disappointment.
A very big disappointment for sure. And number 1,
Number one was
please.
supposed to be Berserk, but now I have to change it since it's been revealed already. Damn it.
Why do you have to change?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to.
Oh, all right. Well then, yeah.
Just do Berserk.
You know what? I'll do it. I'll give it Fate Extra Last Encore. I really like this
Bold.
series, but I also really dislike this series at the same time. Oh my god, what? The only saving grace about this series is Nero. That's it. Everything else is
The
bad.
series is about Euro, so
It's not. It's not about Nero. Why? It's about what is his name?
Hakuno?
Yeah, thank you. Kishinami Hakuno, but not the real Hakuno, just Hakuno.
Yeah. Faker Hakuno.
Last Encore Hakuno.
But yeah, very very unfortunate.
Not who is it? Was it Nasu? Yeah, Kanoku Nasu.
Yeah.
He's kinda. I don't know what he's thinking anymore.
I mean, I don't know. Like, so Fate Extra, the game is good, right? A lot of Fate fans like it. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't like a lot of the rule breaking it does, just for like stuff that was previously set up in the Nasuverse. But a lot of people like Fate Extra, right? And then Fate Extra Last Encore was announced, and Nasu was like, "Yeah, I'm rewriting the story," right? And everyone was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Right?
I'm
And,
gonna make Fate Extra Last Encore accessible for people who love Fate Extra and for
Yeah.
newcomers.
Yeah. Nobody really knew what the hell he meant by that. To me, I figured he was just like truncating a bunch of shit, but apparently he was like, it's like a weird, like, parallel universe, not really like reboot thing. It's super bizarre, and it's like it kind of just spits on the original
it's
Fate
also
Extra.
parallel universe, but also an epilogue to Fate Extra. And
Yeah,
you're like,
it's really dumb.
how does that even work? It's you take all the characters that you like in Fate. Hey, you know that Rin? Rin's pretty cool, right? Guess what? That's not the Rin you know. It's a different Rin. But even then, it's a different Rin. What was it? 2,000 years of future, something like that.
Yeah,
And she's different from that Rin, from the other Rin. And it's like all the characters that you know in Fate Extra. Guess what? We're gonna toss them out. You're gonna see them once, but that's it. And then all the people who love Fate Extra will be like, what are you doing? What are you doing to Rin and what is it? Leon? Leo? What? Leo? Sure, him.
Leo.
It's like, yeah, okay, bye. They're like, what? And then people who are supposed to watch this series and be introduced to Fate Extra will be like, who's that? And why should I care? And then you have us who like Fate Extra be like, I know, like that's what I'm talking about. What is happening here? Then you're angering both sides of the Fate franchise here. Extra. It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Nier said, you're spitting on Fate Extra and trying to rebrand it as something else. You can't do that. But hey, at least Nero's really cool.
Very, very unfortunate again.
You don't even see much of the other servants.
Yeah.
Sure, she fights them, but no one cares.
Yeah, Drake shows up like once.
Yeah, she's probably the only one that you remember.
Yeah.
But Nero's cool, right, Nero? I like.
She's pretty alright. I mean, I'm not a very big fan of Nero just because of the way like Nasu's writing style like completely changes whenever Nero is introduced into a story, but she's alright, I guess.
Nero is the one true shining light of this series, which is why. What is it? That's why I have a dualism with this series. I really like Nero and how she was portrayed, because she drives things along, and whenever she's on screen, I feel a little better inside. But when she's not on screen, I gotta deal with everything else. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, what?
Very, very unfortunate.
It's what is it? It's like a sugar high, you know? Yeah, I love sugar. I'm gonna drink the soda, and then after that, you fall asleep. Then
You're like, wait a minute.
you feel
Yeah.
terrible when you wake up.
I feel you. I feel
I
you.
mean, don't watch it, but at the same time, watch it. Just watch the Nero compilation that someone put on YouTube.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Toast, for covering your worst five. And we're gonna finish up by listing top or not top five, best and worst trends, best and worst trends, and then just wrap up with what we thought of the decade. So I'm just gonna do that all in one fell swoop, and I'll have everybody else do the same. So best trend, worst trend, and then a brief retrospection. All right, so here I go. I'll go first. So for me, I think the best trend that could have happened this past decade was the digitalization of media. So what I mean by that is sort of exactly what it sounds. Media becoming digitalized, right? Manga, instead of being sold in bookstores, sold online. Anime being streamed online instead of being sold on like VHS or DVD or whatever. Too much. And then uh, even light novels, so on and so forth, also all being sold online on online sites instead of having to go through the costs, having to be sold in like Barnes and Nobles, random places, random bookstores, and instead they're just available online. I think that's done so much to help with a bottleneck from Japan out into the West, especially, and just in general with publishing stuff. So I think that's really good. And I think the worst trend is something that I don't think gets talked about as much, like specifically, but it is how a lot of the stuff in the industry is becoming idolized, or a lot of people, a lot of fields, career fields in the industry are becoming idolized. Or
Like
undergoing idolization. Excuse me.
like
And
actual idols or
no, no,
something
no.
else?
So I'll define what it means. Yes. Thanks for the question. Or it's becoming, or the general sort of field is becoming more pyramidized. So what I mean by idolization, I don't mean I don't necessarily mean I don't mean the standard definition, which is to worship something, like to idolize something. I mean idolization as in the model is becoming like idols, right? Like how the idol industry is like. So a lot of it's kind of based on sort of just not even like what you bring to that field specifically. Like if you're a voice actor, it's not necessarily about your voice, or if you're an artist, it's not necessarily about your art, or rather, if you're like a drawing artist, it's not necessarily about your art, or if you're a musician, it's not necessarily about your music, or everything in the industry, right? Is now being based around how you can market yourself as your personal like face brand, which is again not so much related to the career, but it's just like how much of you are an idol, right? It's just like oh, look at me, I'm a pretty face, I do this and that, so I'm gonna sell my brand. And you could say that in a sense that happens in every industry in every nation, but to a certain extent. But I feel like a lot of the stuff in Japanese anime industry, especially, is going on really badly. Like, again, a big example would be something like voice actor. That's something that people have been complaining about for a while, right? Where people are becoming less voice actors in terms of like, oh, I make this voice, I make that voice, I'm good at making this voice, right? But it's not like, oh, I'm good at acting out these voices, and it starts turning from that to, can I go at this live concert and show off to lots of people and get uh, a fan following because I'm attractive, or I'm just like, I'm super energetic or whatever, which again is not really related to what voice act does at its core, right? So I think a lot of that, yeah, like for instance, Pioche just said no visual voice actors, so that's like a part of it, right? It's like the reason why anime voice actors aren't doing visual novel, eroge, right? Visual novels these days is not because they don't want to they don't want to get more money. It's not like that. It's that they have to quote unquote keep their image pure, whatever, right? They have to be like, man, we can't be associated with H visual novels, stuff like that. And I think that's really sort of cancerous for the industry, and it leads it to a wrong direction where their core assets and the stuff in their careers that are related to their careers are not valued, and it's more just about showing off on the radio show, showing off on TV shows, showing off blah blah blah. Like when they come up with their faces on stage, and I think that's the wrong direction to take the industry. So definitely a worse trend. In terms of retrospection, I think this decade has obviously been a very interesting one. I think it's been the decade where I'm sure next decade will be even more so, but this decade so far has been really the one burst open and exponentially expanded the accessibility of Japanese anime and sort of general media to the outside world. And not just, bootleg VHS, not just like mainstream stuff, but literally a lot of the stuff Japan has on deck, right? Um, they might not all be translated. They might not all be, accessible, immediately. But I think this decade was really about obviously not only the anime industry growing globally, but the global community really realizing the full depth of how much like anime related stuff there is, whether it's visual novels, whether it's light novels, web novels, whether it's virtual YouTuber stuff, whether all the extent of how deep anime culture can affect can uh, show itself in different forms of media. I think people really realize that, and I think that was this sort of decade where people kind of got into that. And I think next decade is probably the one where people will try to aim for like equalization. So everybody, when a new series or a new, web novel or something like that, or a new visual novel comes out, that people will be more on the same page in terms of being able to read it sooner in different languages, or being able to access it in different platforms, so on and so forth. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and yeah, definitely a good decade for me at least. Near.
Wow. Um. Best trend. Best trend for me was kind of tricky because um, a lot of the stuff I like in, I guess, the anime and the anime industry is a lot of stuff that, not to sound like a hipster or anything, but, goes against the
Hmm.
trends that are being set, right? Goes
Hmm.
against the grain,
Yeah.
tries to be unique. So it was tricky for me to just be like, yeah, this is the trend I like, because a lot of the
Right,
stuff that
that's
I
a
like,
popular trend. Yeah,
a lot of the stuff I like isn't really trending or
yeah.
trendy, right? Um, But for me, I went with personally just the more recent. And this is a bit more specific. I do want to specify this one because I don't want to shout out the wrong publisher here. But it's sort of I guess the more common worldwide serialization of manga specifically. I think in recent years it's gotten a lot easier to get your hands on, whether it be physical English manga or digital English manga. It's gotten a lot easier, which I think is very good. It helps obviously for people to get their hands on not just anime, right? It's the stuff that's not getting adapted, or the stuff that has the potential to be adapted.
Mhm.
I think it gets the money into the creator's hands more effectively, right? Than a certain other publisher of Western anime releases. But that's my personal choice for best trend. My worst trend. This was pretty tricky. I mean, there's a lot of
Pretty shitty trend.
there's a lot of bad stuff I don't like
Yeah.
in the anime industry. A lot of stuff that it's really annoying. A lot of stuff that I think is almost criminal, to be honest. But I decided to go a bit more lighthearted for this one, just to not be a Debbie Downer. And mine, I went with Trigger fans.
But Nier, I love Kill la Kill.
Yeah, I fucking hate these people, man.
Kill.
Like these people that literally only watch like Trigger shows, and every time a Trigger show comes out, they're like, "Oh, it's the best thing of the year," or "It's the best anime I've seen since Kill la Kill," and it's like how many
Yeah.
fucking brain cells do you have? Like how much of a basic human being do you have to be like, "Oh, I love anime. My top anime are Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, Space Patrol Luluco, and Little Witch Academia."
What
Like,
about Nier?
come on, dude.
Inferno Cop.
Yeah, like I hate these people because they show up almost anywhere. And like every time they'll recommend people to watch series that literally everybody else and their mother have already watched, or they'll put people down for not liking Trigger series. Like, grow up, watch something else. Expand your horizon. I don't like these people. But yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, pretty good. Yeah, I definitely I can get behind that. Just sometimes these fans, I don't even. I try not to hate on them too much, but they don't make it easy.
Fuck them.
Fuck them. Dark. Best and worst, please.
So I wasn't really sure what to do for a lot of these, just because it's like, you know, what am I gonna say? Like, oh, worst trend is this guy. Like, I don't really care all that much about trends in a lot of ways. Um, but other than like what everyone else has said, a more specific one, one of the worst trends was Okada Marie making shows that weren't very good. That's not a good trend at all. Because I
Gotta
almost put
refuse.
Hanasaki Iroha on my like top 10. 'Cause I really
She's
like
got
that
to make
or
that
top
11
5.
episode action, dude.
Dude, Hanasaki Iroha, fucking awesome show.
So you're
Um,
saying you don't like Okada Marie in general?
No, I do. I don't like that there was a trend of her just not writing good things. Like that sucks. Um, but on a more positive note, I guess I'll do two sides of the same coin. Apparently things are getting better. You know, apparently the new show, what was it, the Maidens one? Apparently that's
Yeah,
pretty
Oh,
good.
Maidens of your
Araburu.
Savage Season? Is
Yeah,
that-
Araburu.
Apparently that's
Yeah.
pretty good. So that's a pretty good trend now.
Hmm.
Assuming the movie's good too. But I have to see it. Well, and I guess like, well, bad trends is just like the bigger pickup in fucking official subs at this point. All right, like I can't even say that's like good, which is awful, weird, but I've been burned so many times by fucking Crunchyroll subs at this point that I hate it.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's like it's essentially standards of subbing just dying off. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like it's fucked, honestly. And I not even just standards. Like, if like obviously even fan subs, there's a lot of scuff shit. Like, there's a lot of bad fan subs. There's a lot of fan subs that would have like memes or exaggerated bullshit in their subs, but to see like an official sub have fucking memes in it and just
Dude,
all
you should be just grateful,
errors
okay?
and
You should be
Yeah,
just
it's
grateful.
not about you, bro.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it just it turns really weird because all I get into the mindset of is like this is an editor or a subber that thinks that they're funny, right? And
Yeah.
wants to show that off to people.
Right,
And
exactly. I agree. I agree.
I can at least dismiss it for fan sub, right? Because it's a fan sub, it's amateur subs, like they're not getting paid. They're literally doing it just for clout. Like they're just doing for recognition and for like to to essentially either help or get that recognition from the community, whether that be a very self-centered means or whatever. But that's kind of irrelevant in fan subs. It just kind of turns like, are the subs good or are they bad? For official subs, it's just like it just kind of disgusts me that there are people out there that think that it's their like that it's okay for them to do that in the
Right.
position that they're in.
Yeah. It's just people just they're just look, as long as they're getting the views and as long as people are just like, wow, you translated something into English, they think that's the end all be all. Again, that's just a very disappointing.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they were just translating stuff in it, but
No,
it's
no,
like,
no. What I'm saying is translating as in literally if something becomes English, regardless of the form, it doesn't matter.
yeah, it's just like
Whether it's
do
crappy
some
or meme or whatever.
research and you're there.
Come
You're not there for yourself. Like you're there for the viewer. It's subtitle. It's not for you. So don't put yourself in it. No one came here to see your joke. No one gives a shit about your joke.
It's just again very people are just like accepting what it's again just very very unfortunate lowering of the standards these days. But yeah, oh well. And last,
That's pretty much it for my trends.
yeah, that's fine. And last but not least, toast best and worst trends.
What if I told you both of them are the same thing?
Which is
Then do it.
Best trend of this decade? I was torn between two, but I'll have to give. Or worst trend of the decade? I'll give it to. Wait, worst, right? Yeah, worst. I'll give
Well,
it.
no, you're doing
what?
both, dude.
What?
yeah,
Oh,
you're doing both.
what?
Yeah,
Worst trend of the decade. Con Cole and all its and everything that it brought with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
What do you mean by the
I'm talking about the anthropomorphism of everyday objects and or objects in general.
Well, I mean that sort of thing happened before, right? But are
No,
you talking about like
no,
didn't
no,
happen at
I mean,
all.
it happened,
Is it?
but
no.
I think it's fair to say that Kankule is
You
one
made
of
it more popular.
one of the
Yes.
large examples of it becoming mainstream.
Right, and then
And all that.
becoming very popular.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
you
everyone
remember?
trying to ride the coattails of that.
You remember
Yeah, that's true,
Upote? Yeah, it sucked. You remember Girls in
remember
Panzer?
I-
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You remember?
It's not really.
That's not really.
You
They
remember
were
that
really
one?
But they wasn't writing on the big thing was what was that one game with the that DMM also made
The cars?
the tower. Yeah, exactly. No, the construction stuff, right?
Yeah, that too.
Construction.
There was
There's
also
a lot. There's a lot of them.
there was also
Yeah.
one about what is it? Osaka castles in Japan. That was weird.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Sword Boys, Token Rambo. I guess that's all right. Azure Lane, that's cool too. But then you go into, we're gonna turn all of these into cars, and or all these cars into girls. It's like okay. Then you got tanks as girls. Okay, I guess. Then you got warship girls, another ripoff of Concole. And you're like, okay, hold on there. And you got Spy. What was that one show about the boys? The the boy. What was it? It was like what was it?
Wasn't it like the boys being like the guns, like the
Yeah.
Thousand Musketeers?
Yeah.
Thousand, yeah.
That's kind of Uma Musume though. I like that. But yeah, you should stop. You should stop.
Okay.
There's too many. What's left? What do you have left?
There should be like streaming platform. Well, there already is, right? Probably like
Yeah, those are called Twitch girls, Spire.
You're right, Sis. And what's your best trend?
Best trend, isekai. I love
Yeah.
isekai.
Don't know about that one.
I hope we get isekai for another 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years.
Heat death of the universe. Yes, isekai.
I mean, isekai is exploring new territory within anime, Spire. Or is it
what do you mean?
Shousetsu? I hope they bring more Shousetsu series that are great.
You're hurting me, Toast. Toast, you're hurting me.
2020 is starting great with the what is it? Max Vitality series. That's great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay.
Villainous. Yeah, we love Villainous. Spider Girls. Yeah. It's an untapped market of potential.
Is it
Isekai.
I think it's been tapped to the
I
point.
think it's been tapped.
The well is running dry, bro.
I
The
don't
well
know,
is
dear.
just pouring a hole
Near,
through the
I'm
other side.
only just starting to watch them.
Yeah, near.
Like Bookworm's good.
Here, do you
Oh my
like
God.
I'm
vending
an
machines?
isekai fan.
You like vending machines in your dungeon? Yeah.
Oh
No.
my
You like max? What is it? Max evasion healers. And Monster Hunter Old Man in another world.
I'm just waiting for Japanese studios to get desperate enough to start using Chinese light novels,
They already
and
do.
at that point we will.
Inspired Silver Gravekeeper, Legend of Sword
right, I
Mountain.
fucking forgot.
What is it? What's it's not the gamer. That one cooking one. That I think Dark likes. And the one
cooking.
there was that one.
Chinese one.
Yeah,
I've seen one episode of it. I gotta go back to that
and
actually.
that Chinese bootleg DFO
It was
one.
pretty dope.
What's it called? It's on Netflix. The live action version. I talked about it on the podcast a while back.
I know what you're talking about. but,
Yeah. I
we-
don't remember the title.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, and just. God,
Spire.
fucking-
It's an untapped market of limitless potential. Spire.
Oh, limitless potential.
This is the pinnacle of human evolution.
You're right, Tess. We should just all
Get-
accept
get-
Isekai as our
Yeah,
thing.
give me more isekai.
When it will just end it.
What's it? Anyways, thank you.
Give me an isekai about being transported to an isekai.
You're already in an isekai, and then you get killed in that isekai, and you're transferred into another.
Yeah, wait,
isekai.
Yeah,
An isekai where the isekai protagonist dies and gets transported back to their
back into
original
Japan.
world.
Yeah.
and then he dies. But he has to die each time to travel between worlds. That's fantastic, Dark.
God, dude,
genius.
that's like ReZero, but like 10
That's
times
literally just Germa's bit about reincarnating as ants.
Oh shit!
Put it on show Setsu. Dark, make millions.
Anyways, Toast, thank you very much for your best and worst trends of the decade. And with that, we are finally done with our look back upon 2019 or decade or whatever time period. Next episode will
Next
definitely
week,
be
right?
next week will definitely be our first official podcast of looking forward to the 2020 winter season. So watch out for that. Thank you guys all for sticking with the podcast again. I said this on the show, but it's us here, sticking with us, in previous podcasts too. And yeah, again. Oh, before I do my usual outro, again, we are doing our uh next. So our next episode, was a sidecast. So next episode will be our regular podcast. So next week. So watch out for that. I do want to. I forgot to give a shout out before, but I do want to give a big shout out to Toast, both for this podcast and for the previous one. Really being on the ball with changing captions, changing pictures, and all that, and just setting stuff up. So big shout out to him, buddy. Clap. And with that, again, we are done with this bonus sidecast of the decade. I guess we had to do the decade in review. So if you like what we do here, check us out here or follow us here on twitch.tv/PlayerAnimecast. That's what us here. Us on our YouTube as well for our latest VODs. And we stream every other Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can catch us here where we live the greatest in Japanese animation media. And you can check us up on our updates on our social media on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter at 4PlayerAnimecast, so we can check us out there. And with that, we'll see you next week.